Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Committee of the Whole meeting of December 6, 2023 to order. My name is J.D. Pachariva, Councillor and Chair of the Planning and Economic Development Committee. I would like to begin tonight's meeting by reading a safety notice. In the event of an emergency, please evacuate council chambers through the nearest exit, through the chamber doors, and obey all instructions given. And if assistance is required, please see our Deputy Clerk, Devan. So we will follow Devan out in an orderly fashion in case of an emergency. Once you have evacuated the building, please gather in the front parking lot outside of Town Hall. Please ensure your cell phones are either off or turned on silent. And lastly, the Town of Lincoln Committee of the Whole meetings are posted on our YouTube channel. Closed captioning is available on all of our videos by selecting the closed captioning button on the bottom right of the video. And I would, you know what, I got a text the other night after our meeting. Can we make sure that our microphones are pointed up? Because people in the back row were having difficulty hearing. So enunciate clearly and loudly into your microphone so all can hear. So members of committee are in attendance in person and remotely, with regrets from Councillor Murray. We also have staff in attendance in person and remotely. Additionally, we have representatives from Court Holdings Limited, Custom Sign Lab, Tony Valley Tourism Association, Megalomaniac Wines, Reveille Brunch Cafe, and Peninsula Ridge Estates Winery and Restaurant attending. Are there any declarations of interest this evening? Okay, I see none. As we have multiple delegations this evening, I would like to request that committee amend the order of the agenda to allow for committee to consider the associated report immediately following the registered delegations pertaining to that item. Therefore, we would consider item 6.2.1 Municipal Accommodation Tax Recommendation Report AD 14-23 immediately following those registered delegations, and then committee would consider item 6.2.2 Unlocking Lincoln's Tourism Sector, Creating a Destination Marketing Organization, Report AD 13-23 immediately following those registered delegations. So I will ask our Deputy Clerk to open the vote.
Thank you, Chair. I'll ask for a show of hands. And Councillor Regima, can I get your vote, please? Thank you. That carries.
Okay, thank you very much, Devan. Additionally, we have received a delegation request past the intake deadline from Norm Beal, who wishes to speak to both items, 6.2.1 Municipal Accommodation Tax Recommendation Report and item 6.2.2 Unlocking Lincoln's Tourism Sector, Creating a Destination Marketing Organization. If committee wishes to permit this delegation, we will require a 2/3 vote. So I would ask our Deputy Clerk to open that vote.
Thank you, Chair. And can I get another show of hands? That's great. And Councillor Regima, I see your hand. That carries. Thank you.
Okay, that's terrific. So we have no statutory public meetings this evening. So we're now at the Planning and Economic Development portion of tonight's agenda. We have 2 registered delegations for the first item. Please note that delegations have up to 5 minutes to speak, and we will begin with delegates regarding item 6.2.1 Municipal Accommodation Tax Recommendation Report. Our first registered delegation for this evening is David Jacobs. Mr. Jacobs has withdrawn his delegation, and as such, we will move on to the next delegate. Tracy Murray, representing Court Holdings Limited. Tracy, please go ahead, and welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, I'm a little bit new to this whole process, so if I don't address the council appropriately, please accept my apologies. My name's Tracy Murray. I'm the CFO and Head of Real Estate for Court Holdings Limited. Many of you we've been speaking to over the last few months. We have a large presence in the community with regards to our manufacturing facilities that have been in existence since the 80s in the town of Lincoln. Most recently, we've been a lot more active on the real estate side of our business. We are actively developing waterfront location at 4933, 4937 Victoria Avenue. The application will be going forth to council or to the economic to the planning and development in Q1 of '24. That development includes not only condos, but a hospitality component. And when we were going through the process of taking a look at opportunities of best and ideal use for the land, we recognize that there's a significant shortfall of accommodations in the town of Lincoln to service the more than 50 wineries that are in the location. As well, across the street from our location on Victoria Avenue, we also have the Vineland Research and Innovation Institute, which hosts a number of events from drawing people from all over the world to the town of Lincoln. Again, falling short of accommodations to be able to provide for those attendees. We're losing that opportunity to neighboring towns who have accommodations available, as well as, from the winery standpoint, accommodations in Niagara-on-the-Lake, as well as Niagara Falls. From a personal interest, from a development standpoint, we would like to advocate on behalf of the municipal, or the accommodation tax. And the reason why is there is definitely a benefit to having accommodations in the town. We feel that we're missing an opportunity to draw those people to the town. We have an interest, obviously, to be able to provide units to the town for accommodations and to promote the tourism within the town of Lincoln. It will create jobs, it will create opportunities for growth, and in order to do that, you have to allocate resources to be able to fund that. Coming from a holding company perspective that we run, from a global perspective, there's limited opportunities that you have to be able to generate revenue to create resources in order to grow. Having a municipal accommodation tax will create that resource opportunity so that you can continue to allocate resources to promote tourism within the community. That's all I have to say.
Tracy, you're natural. Thank you very much. Any questions of the delegation? I see none. Thank you very much. Okay, our next delegation this evening is Clayton Letourneau, representing Custom Sign Lab. Clayton, please go ahead.
Honorable ladies and gentlemen of the town of Lincoln Council, good evening. My name is Clayton Letourneau, and I'm the owner of Custom Sign Lab. I'm present to express my support for the proposed municipal accommodation tax as a funding aid in the establishment and support of a destination marketing organization. I will later present my perspectives on the establishment of a DMO. However, as we collectively consider the potential benefits that a destination marketing organization can bring to our community, I'm convinced that endorsing the MAT is a strategic move and the two initiatives are codependent. The municipal accommodations tax, as outlined in the MAT recommendation report, has the power to facilitate the creation of a DMO that will play a crucial role in supporting and increasing tourism, enhancing our community's visibility, and attracting visitors to explore the diverse experiences that Lincoln has to offer. I urge the town of Lincoln Council to consider the long-term advantages that a MAT and DMO can bring to our town and its businesses. I'm confident that this strategic decision will contribute significantly to the continued growth and prosperity of Lincoln, thus fostering a vibrant and economically sustainable community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Clayton. Any questions of Mr. Letourneau? I see none. Thank you very much, Clayton. Our next delegation this evening is Mr. Norm Beal, representing Peninsula Ridge Estates Winery and Restaurant. Please go ahead, Norm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, councilors and members of the Committee of the Whole. I really came tonight prepared to give one single presentation on behalf of both initiatives. I will stand here, so I would really like to address the DMO separately, where I have some fairly long-winded and very boring comments to go along with that. But I will chime in right now on the municipal tax. I think it's absolutely important that we go hand in hand, as our previous speaker mentioned. These two things are very, very closely linked and united. I do encourage council to address an issue that I know that many municipalities are dealing with right now, and that is, single night stay, short-term accommodation, which is also an issue. And I think we need to find a way of incorporating that into this tax as well. I'm going to really leave it at that, and then I'll address the broader issue as I speak to the DMO. Thank you. Is there any questions?
Okay. Councilor Bernay?
Yeah, thank
Oh.
you. Thank you, Chair, to Mr. Beal. Thank you for pinch hitting here on late notice. So I couldn't agree more with your comments that I think the short-term accommodation is a vital component to all of this. I think it's like a glove in a hand. I think the three of them should be dealt with at the same time. So we're not dealing with the short-term accommodations this evening, and that will be dealt with down the road. Do you anticipate any issues that could impact, if, let's just say, crystal ball, 6 months down, short-term accommodation doesn't go forward? How harmful do you think that is to seeing a successful DMO moving forward?
Well, it's interesting. We had Court up here, who see the value of this, who are investing heavily in long-term, or short-term accommodation, and see the value right away. We have to carry this load together. I believe in private-public partnerships is really what we're talking about when we talk about the DMO. So I think it would be seriously harmful if we could not get short-term accommodations on board with this tax. I think it would be a serious problem, but not a total impediment to moving forward. I think we have to move forward with this initiative now, and then bring along short-term accommodations as we see fit.
Thank you, Chair.
Councilor Michalak?
Thank you very much, through you to Mr. Beal. Thank you for coming and offering your perspective on this. And the spirit of this is to generate revenue from tourism, right? And businesses such as yours are heavily reliant on tourism and receive a lot of tourists. And one thing I've noticed when I go to restaurants in Niagara Falls is that there's some sort of a DMO or some sort of a destination or some sort of a tax imposed when I go to a restaurant. How would you feel as a business owner? Would you be in favor of that sort of a tax on tourists that come to your establishment, similar to what they do in Niagara Falls or perhaps other-
Councilor, we're talking about a MAT tax this evening, not a DMF that Niagara Falls.
MAT tax.
No, that's not. So you're only supposed to be charging a MAT tax on rooms, not on food or beverage. And Niagara Falls has done that for years. And that's the reason that when the RTO was created, we didn't get the funding in Niagara that we were supposed to get. So I would stick your comments just to the MAT, because we're not going to do that here, because that's not right.
Okay, no, it's just a genuine question that I see that I've paid and similar, okay, perfect, all right, sorry, my apologies for asking that question.
Okay? Thank you very much, Norm.
Thank you.
Okay, in addition to the delegations, written correspondence from Celine Sullivan, Smoke and Moonshine, August Restaurant, and You Had Me at Pizza, dated December 4th, 2023, and the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario, dated December 4th, 2023, received after the agenda publishing deadline was circulated to members of council for consideration with respect to this item. There being no further delegations, I have a motion moved by Councilor Michalak that committee receive and file as information the following delegations and written correspondence regarding municipal accommodation tax recommendation 8013-23. Tracy Murray Court Holdings Limited, Clayton Letourneau Custom Sign Lab, Norm Beal Peninsula Ridge Estates Winery, Celine Sullivan Smoke and Moonshine, August Restaurant, and You Had Me at Pizza, and the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario. I will now ask our Deputy Clerk to open the vote.
Thank you, Chair. That vote's now open. Councilor Regima, could you please verbally tell me your vote?
In favor.
Thank you. And that motion closes and that carries. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Devan. So So we will now consider Report AD 14-23 regarding municipal accommodation tax recommendation. The Director of Economic Development and Communications and Tourism Development Officer will be providing a presentation. Before we will begin, I ask that committee proceed with a majority vote to extend their speaking time. So I have a motion moved by Councilor Renchema that committee extend the presentation time until completed. Show of hands.
If I could have a show of hands, thank you. Councilor Rajima, thank you, and that motion carries.
Okay. Paul and Brittany, please go ahead.
Press the wrong button. Thank you, Chair. Appreciate it. And good evening, Mayor Easton, members of council, representatives from our business community, and residents of Lincoln. I am pleased to be in front of you tonight providing a recommendation to committee on the implementation of a municipal accommodation tax, or MAT for short, which is a sustainable revenue solution for the town of Lincoln, supporting economic growth and prosperity in our community. While we have two reports in front of you this evening, both the MAT report and the DMO report, which, as was alluded to in previous delegations, while connected, it does make much more sense to deal with them separately. So members of council, we are at a crossroads tonight. Before you this evening is a very important report about bringing forward a MAT for Lincoln, a sustainable revenue source that can support our residents, our businesses, and our overall tourism destination through money derived directly from visitors. This is a sustainable and prudent plan which we'll be highlighting for you this evening. And one comment, if I may, Chair, just to go back to a question that Councillor Miklik asked of one of our delegates. So in the community of Niagara Falls and other parts of Ontario, there is a fee called the destination marketing fee that some tourism hospitality businesses do charge. It is not a MAT tax. It's not a legal tax. MAT is a legal tax that we're proposing for this evening. In fact, the legislation that the province brought forward in 2017 to allow municipalities to bring on a MAT tax recognized that the destination marketing fee was a little convoluted, confusing, and didn't necessarily go directly towards supporting tourism marketing. So I just want to provide that clarification if I can. So tonight, Ms. Bazlewski and I will be taking you through several slides highlighting a number of key elements, mainly what is a MAT, why implement a MAT here in Lincoln, applying MAT, uses of MAT revenues, and we're also going to go through some recommendations on collection and administration of our municipal accommodation tax. We'll also be looking at our estimated 6-year revenue, and finally we'll be looking at our recommendations before you this evening. So, what is a municipal accommodation tax? So, as alluded, municipal accommodation taxes are taxes that are levied on the accommodation portion of a visitor's overnight stay. MAT can only be charged on the room. It cannot be charged on other amenities such as food and beverages or at restaurants or local wineries associated with the purchase of wine. MAT is a tax that is levied on visitors staying overnight. It is not levied on residents. It must be collected by our accommodation partners, similar to HST, but remitted to the local municipality. Municipalities get to decide which type of accommodations the MAT applies to. However, in our research, most municipalities cover all types of accommodations. A MAT serves as a revenue tool that Ontario municipalities can use to further promote tourism as an economic driver. The legislation states that at least 50% of collected tax must be remitted to a destination marketing organization to be used for destination marketing, thereby further supporting tourism in the community. The remaining portions of the amount collected, minus administrative fees, can be used for other tourism-related needs in the community. Things such as community beautification, capital infrastructure, such as roads, parks, community signage, and events. The province really does allow the municipality to determine the needs for the community, allowing MAT revenue to support items that both residents and visitors benefit from. So why implement a MAT here in Lincoln? So as defined in our tourism strategy, Lincoln's greatest opportunity for economic growth and job creation is through our tourism and hospitality sector. The primary objective of MAT is twofold: to generate additional revenue to support economic growth and job creation in the municipality through destination marketing, to shift the responsibility of managing some of these costs away from the tax base and onto the visitors who stay in Lincoln. While both visitors and residents can enjoy our attractions, the MAT legislation recognizes that residential and non-residential taxpayers should not shoulder all of the burden for promoting Lincoln and supporting tourism-related infrastructure. A MAT provides funding for local DMOs to support tourism marketing, which in turn helps with further private sector investment in Lincoln. This project enhances investment in tourism marketing, sales, and product development by putting dollars back in the local visitor economy.
And MAT provides local tourism with a diversified, reliable source of income that builds the economic resiliency of our local destination. So some feedback that we have heard is that MAT might make our destination too costly or unattractive to visitors, especially if there's an economic downturn. While I do recognize that feedback, in our analysis, a MAT should not be a deterrent. In addition, when economic times are good, you market the destination and attract visitors to spend money. When economic times are tough, you need to double down and market more, as you're fighting for a smaller piece of the pie, which means trying to support our tourism and hospitality sector and the people they employ even more. So what type of accommodations can MAT be applied to? So as previously mentioned, it really is up to the municipality on the type of accommodation we wish MAT to apply to. It is our recommendation this evening that MAT apply to all accommodations in our municipality. And this includes traditional hotel rooms, B&Bs, Airbnbs, and other similar online rental platforms, as well as short-term accommodations associated with campgrounds. This does allow us to level the playing field for all, while also maximizing the revenue potential for the municipality. So provincial legislation, as I indicated, mandates that at least 50% of the MAT revenue must be directed to an eligible tourism entity. This allows for the revenues to be directed back into destination marketing, thereby supporting the destination and ensuring there's an economic growth and job creation. So while we'll be discussing this more during our DMO presentation report this evening, staff are recommending that 80% of the total collected amount, less a 5% administration fee, be provided to our new destination marketing organization for an initial 5-year period. This will allow our new DMO to get up and running faster, allowing us to decrease our levy contributions quicker. The remaining 20% will be used to offset our levy contributions to the DMO. After an initial 5-year period, we're proposing to move to a more equitable 60-40 split, with 40% remaining with the town to be used for tourism-related infrastructure, such as roads, parks, beautification, signage, and wayfinding, all things that support our visitors and residents alike. I would now like to turn it to Ms. Bazewski to talk a little bit about collection and administration of MAT.
Thank you, Mr. Deaney. Good evening, Mayor Easton, members of council, residents, and my fellow stakeholders in the tourism industry here in Lincoln. Our proposed strategic partnership with the Ontario Hotel, Motel, and Restaurant Association as Lincoln's designate collection authority for the municipal accommodations tax not only underscores the importance of cross-collaboration in this sector, but also promises substantial benefits for Lincoln's tourism industry. Our alignments with ORMA, which is the short form for the Ontario Hotel, Motel, and Restaurant Association, is not only about leveraging their extensive expertise, but also tapping into the key role that they play as a collection entity, not only for Lincoln, but for multiple municipalities across Ontario. ORMA right now is actually providing this service to over 29 municipalities in Ontario. So what is the value of working with ORMA for our MAT collection? Well, it's all about efficiency in the collection process. The ORMA team streamlines the MAT collection process, ensuring efficiency and accuracy. Their established systems and protocols make the process seamless for both the association, the town of Lincoln, and our local operators. It's also about financial stewardship with ORMA. Entrusting the collection of MAT to ORMA ensures that Lincoln's funds are being managed in a way that's synonymous with our accountability standards. Their expertise in handling funds and adherence to financial best practices contribute to the transparent and accountable financial management of Lincoln's MAT funds for both the town, its representatives, as well as our local operators. ORMA's deep understanding of the hospitality industry also positions them as more than just collectors. They now become valuable advisors to the town of Lincoln. Their insights have the potential to contribute to the strategic direction of MAT's allocation in Lincoln in years to come, ensuring that Lincoln, our residents in this community, maximize the benefits available from the collection of this municipal accommodations tax. Additionally, why we love the partnership with ORMA is all about the advocacy that they do with upper levels of government. So ORMA right now on behalf of the industry advocates on MAT-related matters, accommodations, challenges facing that sector, and ensures that the interests of that entire sector and our community are well represented at all levels of upper government. This advocacy part of me will contribute to the continual improvement of MAT and the policies and procedures in which we enact here in our community. Before we dive into the specifics of the collaboration on the municipal accommodations tax with ORMA, let's appreciate the significance of the ORMA being Ontario's largest not-for-profit hospitality-derived organization. We have chosen to align ourselves with ORMA for a myriad of reasons, some that I've already drawn attention to. One, it's their extensive network. With a reach that spans the entire province, the ORMA team connects us with a vast network of industry professionals, influencers, and decision makers. Again, their industry expertise, ORMA has a rich pool of industry experts at their table that provide valuable insights, ensuring that our strategies align with the best proven practices in this sector across the province. They also, again, advocacy and representation. Acting as a powerful advocate on behalf of our local industry, ORMA ensures that the concerns and interests of our local business accommodations operators, are effectively represented at every level of government. The other reason why we love ORMA is their constancy to training and development with local operators here in our jurisdiction. Through their commitment to professional development, ORMA offers training programs and resources that enhance the skills and capabilities of our local operators, as well as their workforce. So, in pursuit of a seamless collection process, our proposed partnership with ORMA will not only streamline the MAT collection process, but will also financially do so in a responsible manner. The one-time fee and percentage of earnings charges that we have to invest in order to partner with ORMA on our MAT program ensures its continued operation and contribution to the growth of Lincoln's tourism sector. So what does this partnership entail from a mechanics level? Well, let's break it down. For a one-time fee and an ongoing percentage of revenue, ORMA takes on the responsibility of educating, onboarding, collecting, and remitting MAT to the municipality. This means a streamlined process without the need for additional town staff involvement. Through this process, ORMA will employ an online remittance system, leveraging technology to make the collection of MAT easy for our local partners. This modern approach not only ensures accuracy, but it also simplifies the entire process, making it accessible and efficient for our local accommodations providers. We will review this dashboard example later on in the presentation so you can truly see how easy and non-onerous this process truly is for our local operators. Now that we understand the fee structure, let's dive in a little bit more into how this program ensures it's paying for itself. This one-time upfront fee covers the initial setup and onboarding process. From there, our traditional hotel providers, so hotels and motels in Lincoln, will receive a 1.8 percentage of compensation on the total overall revenue estimated by the municipality. This is how ORMA essentially makes their fee for service with the town. For non-traditional accommodations like our short-term bed and breakfast or any of our Airbnbs, this percentage is slightly higher at 5%, recognizing that this industry doesn't quite have the same level of resources available at their disposal to be able to get onboarded in the same manner as our traditional hotel partners. This program also pays for itself over time. Importantly, the percentage charges are calculated on the overall amount remitted to the municipality. So when Lincoln does well, ORMA does well. When Lincoln doesn't do great in accommodations in that 1 year, as Paul alluded to initially, the town doesn't have to expect a hefty fee that's not in line with our success and performance in that calendar year. In our commitment to transparency and collaboration, town staff actively engage with accommodations operators to help shape this MAT process in a way that is both effective for the user as well as for the municipal team here in Lincoln. The proposed solution specifically addresses the remittance process for accommodations operators in our community. Our aim is to make this process as non-onerous as we heard in some of our public engagement meetings, ensuring that the process is collaborative with town staff, with ORMA, and making sure that's efficient for all parties that are involved. Responding to that feedback, we're working with traditional hotel operators to remit their MAT on a monthly basis. This aligns with industry standards and ensures a consistent, timely financial flow for both operators and the municipality. ORMA's remittance process for traditional hotel operators also traditionally coincides with their monthly reporting requirements as well from a financial perspective in their own organizations. We are suggesting and acknowledging that our short-term accommodation operators are not the same as our traditional hotel accommodations operators. With this in mind, we will be looking to remit MAT from that sector quarterly. Importantly, operators not only need to report accommodation revenue, this makes it super easy for them to streamline the process. This synchronized approach simplifies and ensures that operators can meet their obligations without any unnecessary complications or added work in their day-to-day businesses. To enhance their experience as well and for further transparency, each operator, whether a hotel or a short-term accommodation operator, will be provided with their own unique login credential. This personalized access ensures that the operators can easily navigate the remittance process without any unnecessary hurdles. This also keeps their information completely confidential. And while I'm on the topic of confidentiality, we understand the importance of data confidentiality here at the town, and as such, only a town-designated staff member and a compliance officer from ORMA will have access to this aggregated data. This ensures that the sensitive information from our local operators is treated with the utmost confidentiality, instilling trust in our accommodations operators and further trust in the town in supporting this sector. The outline remittance process ensures a smooth transition into the MAP program for our local operators, minimizing disruptions and maximizing the benefit in our community. One of the key operational aspects of this MAP program is the proposed remittance schedule. Payments are due on the 15th of the month for the previous month or quarter, providing a clear and consistent timeline for our operators. In creating this solution, town staff also recognize the value of time for our local operators. For hotel operators, once again, this process is only going to take them about 3 to 5 minutes per month, ensuring minimal impact on their day-to-day operations. For our short-term accommodators, again, we will be looking at a similar approach, and this data to be collected quarterly should only look at a time dichotomy for these operators at about 2 minutes per quarter. Again, payment options are super convenient for our local operators. To further enhance their ability to remit in a manner that is not onerous, payments can be made to ORMA via electric funds transfer, wire transfer, or check. This flexibility allows accommodations operators to pay a remit in a process that is of their preference and ensures a seamless financial process. This too also harkens back to industry best practices, as typically cash and credit payments are not accepted for these style of remittances to ORMA or the municipality. This decision is in line once again with the rest of the industry and contributes once again to a more secure and transparent handling process for MAT. Furthermore, understanding the importance of clear communication is even more important. Town staff are dedicated to providing our local operators with the necessary tools to convey accurate and informative information as it pertains to our MAP program to their guests. The development of point-of-purchase materials and business resources is a proactive step by town staff to empower our local operators in effectively communicating the key messages and the correct key messages about our municipal accommodations tax program in Lincoln. These resources will not only enhance transparency, but also contribute to a positive guest experience on the other end. For example, with clarity in messaging, we will develop a concise and clear message that outlines the purpose and benefits of the MAP program. This ensures that our operators can effectively communicate these key points to their guests. These materials will also need to be user-friendly. Making it easy for operators to integrate them into their existing communication channels and include materials that can be displayed at check-in counters, in-room information packages, and on their digital platforms. What will these resources look like and what will they include for local operators? I'll show you some visual examples momentarily, but these will be materials that highlight these benefits to our guests. Messaging about best practice is absolutely crucial, and these materials will show how the growth and improvement of these local amenities, experiences, and attractions are actually enhancing their overall experience as the guest. To avoid any potential misinformation, these resources will also be continuously updated to ensure that the information provided is accurate, up-to-date, and aligns with the goals of Lincoln's annual MAP program. And finally, for us, it's consistency across operators. Consistency is key when trying to share a new message or implement a new initiative in a community. So these materials will be designed to maintain a cohesive message across all operators, promoting a unified and community-driven approach to sharing information about Lincoln's MAP program. These are just a few of the mock-ups of the point-of-purchase materials you can expect our local operators to receive to help support the implementation of our proposed MAP program. And at this time, I would like to turn the podium back over to Mr. Deaney to speak to you about our conservative financial outlook for MAP.
Thank you, Brittany. Chair, we're now into the fun aspects, the 6-year estimated forecast or revenue forecast for municipal accommodation tax in Lincoln. So before you is an estimated 6-year revenue forecast based on feedback from the accommodation sector, from members of council and members of our community. We are being very conservative in our numbers and our approach. In addition, staff are recommending we implement the MAT at 4% here in Lincoln. This will allow us to maximize revenue quicker and put us in line with neighboring municipalities in both Niagara and throughout Southern Ontario, as 4% is the norm. So first, the assumptions. In all of these calculations, we are assuming a 25% occupancy rate for STAs in Lincoln, even though data is showing us that it is higher. For traditional hotels, we are assuming a 40% occupancy rate, even though our accommodation partners are indicating it is higher. We are using the conservative occupancy rates because we believe it reflects the ebbs and flows of our seasonal tourism destination and allows us to account for the variability of MAT and tourism visitation in general. As members of the council will know, the MAT is a sales tax. If people are coming to our destination and staying in our hotels and our accommodation partners, MAT will be collected and charged. If less people are coming or there's a little bit of an economic downturn, as you can imagine, there's a variability behind the municipal accommodation tax. However, we feel that with a strong supporting DMO, marketing the destination, we will do a fantastic job in helping bring people to our community. So starting in year one, we're recommending that collection on STAs begin on July 1st, 2024. This will allow us to finalize and bring back to council staff's recommendation on the proposed licensing and regulatory requirements for short-term accommodations in Lincoln. So as members of council will recall, we had a very engaged public meeting in October that necessitates a review before we come back with our recommendations to committee, and this will occur in Q1 of 2024. Please do keep in mind, we do not need STA licensing system in place to charge MAT on traditional accommodations in Lincoln. It just allows us to level the playing field and apply MAT to the STA sector as well. In addition, starting July 1st, also allows us to onboard as many STA partners as possible with the MAT program. On traditional accommodations, staff are recommending collection of MAT begins on April 1st, 2024. This will give us time to onboard Orma as well as our 2 traditional hotels in Lincoln, giving them a bit of time to get the process up and running. I do want to recognize that both of our hotel or traditional hotel accommodation partners do have properties in Niagara-on-the-Lake and the city of city of Niagara Falls, and they do pay MAT there, so they know the process. They understand. We've spoken to them. It shouldn't be a problem bringing it on board, but we do want to give a little bit of a buffer. So according to AirDNA, we have anywhere between 167 and 215 active listings in Lincoln on the short-term accommodation side. We recognize that given recent federal and potential provincial legislation geared towards turning more short-term accommodations into long-term rentals, as well as our proposed STA regulatory and licensing framework, there may be less STAs in Lincoln moving forward. That is why we are using the conservative approach to 20 STAs onboarded in year one. Again, this is being conservative. If we can onboard more, such as 100% of all STAs in our community, great, but we do recognize that this takes time. So using an average room rate of $320 for STAs and $230 for traditional hotel rooms, you can see our first year revenue is $114,000. Once Orma takes their percentage, we are left with $112,000, with 80% going to the DMO and 20% going to the town. In year two, we are again being very conservative and bringing on an additional 20 short-term accommodation partners. So we have 40 total in year two. In year three, we're talking about bringing on an additional 20, and the same in year 4, 5, and 6, with a total of 120 by year 6. Again, if we could bring on 100% sooner, fantastic, we're bringing in more MAT revenue. But again, we want to be super conservative in our approach and our calculations. By year 6, our numbers really start to move on the traditional hotel space. We are confident that the proposed hotels that have either been approved or are in the planning process will have come online by that point, which is why you see a large jump here in year 6 in terms of the traditional hotel or accommodation numbers. Again, if some of these hotels are built sooner, we'll bring on that money sooner. If some are after the year 6 part, it'll be a little bit later, but we're confident that more accommodation partners are coming on board. And this is why, as you can see from the $650,000 proposed in year 6, from my perspective, from economic development's perspective, we are going after investment on traditional hotel rooms. It makes much more sense. We're putting our eggs in that basket, not necessarily the STAs. We recognize that Airbnbs, Verbos, and B&Bs play a very important part in our tourism sector, but from an economic development perspective, we want those traditional hotel rooms. So public engagement. Throughout this process, we have gone through an extensive engagement plan to ensure feedback was solicited and incorporated into our final recommendations. On the screen in front of you are some key dates on our engagement. In regards to timelines, before you is the timeline and various milestones we followed throughout this process. And as you can see, if I draw your attention to April and July 2024, as I previously mentioned, MAT on traditional hotel rooms would begin on April 1st and July 1st for STAs. And finally, a little bit of a brief summary of our recommendations in our report this evening. That is to name the new destination marketing organization as Lincoln's eligible tourism entity as per the legislation. Implement a 4% municipal accommodation tax per room per night on all paid overnight accommodations in Lincoln. Name ORMA as our official collection agent to administer the program. This reduces the need to create a bureaucratic process here at Town Hall, as it is a third-party organization we're bringing on board that does this for over 25 municipalities in Ontario. And again, beginning collection on traditional hotel rooms on April 1st, July 1st for STAs, and of course the 80-20 split between the DMO and the Town of Lincoln for 5 years, and the 60-40 split beginning in year 6. And with that, Chair, I turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul and Brittany. So, do committee members have any questions? Mayor Easton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Paul and Brittany, for your presentation. Paul, I just want to spend a few moments talking about risk. And I'm putting this on the table because I don't believe that risk should stop us from going forward. I just want to understand better how we would manage that risk. So in the statement that you have there, you've identified a role for the town in terms of support for a number of years. And so when you evaluate that and look at how you think things will come on, I know you have been very conservative in your estimates. However, if there's risk involved, could you describe what that scenario would look like for the town? Because, and I'm comfortable putting this on the table because we've been through this kind of a scenario in the past with the BIA, where we actually took a risk in terms of helping it get on its feet. So it's not a matter of, I think the risk is too great, it's just a matter of understanding what it could look like and then, what it could mean. So I'll just leave that for you to describe.
For sure, and thank you, Madam Mayor, for the question, and Chair, through you to the Mayor. So, Madam Mayor, I think part of your question would best be deferred to our next topic and our next report in terms of the Destination Marketing Organization. However, I'm going to answer a little bit in terms of our estimated 6-year revenue and the risk on this side of things. So the first part is ORMA, who will be naming our official tax collection agency, only gets paid if MAT starts to come in. So there's no, other than the $3,000 one-time upfront fee, there's no cost to the municipality on having a MAT program moving forward year after year after year. As I said, ORMA only gets paid on the collection of the MAT. In regards to risk on our estimated annual revenue on MAT, we're being super conservative. We believe, based on our research and our data and speaking to our partners, that we think our MAT could potentially overperform the numbers that we have in front of you. However, again, we want to be super conservative because we recognize the variability of MAT and the variability of the tourism sector in general. So, the risk on this side of things is minimal, but again, we're being super conservative. That way we can recognize the variability of the program.
Okay, well, that's your position, and I'm going to accept that, Mr. Chairman, as the position, because we have talked about this on a number of occasions now, and you've been pretty consistent throughout. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Councillor Bernay.
Thank you, Chair Pat Triba, through you to Mr. Deaney. So Paul and Brittany, thanks for your presentation. There's a lot of work that's gone into this over the last number of years, and I think you're probably happy you're in front of us this evening. So Paul, you mentioned that you're kind of putting all your chips in on the fact that we're going to invest in traditional hotels. And I think that's probably prudent because, the one slide talks about the fact that, and we say it all the time, public engagement matters. And we heard loud and clear at the recent STA, short-term accommodation public meeting, that there were a lot of concerns. So I think that's wise, and I just want to point that out. Because we don't know how that's going to unfold. So investment in traditional hotels, I think, is prudent on your part, and I applaud you for that. So it's great that we have Tracy here this evening representing Court, and, they're a community partner, and they're invested in a lot of things, and that facility hopefully will be built sooner than later, and we can have people there that have a place to stay to go to Vineland Research and our weddings and everything else around. But I guess my first question through you, Chair, is have we reached out? We did receive a letter from one particular establishment that operates in Lincoln and outside of Lincoln, throwing their endorsement. I didn't see other letters for places that traditionally are hotels. Did we speak to them, and what feedback did we get from them?
So through you, Chair, to the councillor, I mean, good question, councillor. So, we did have some preliminary conversations with the other traditional hotel room as well, or accommodation partner as well. Supportive because they do pay it in Niagara Falls. They've got the process in place. Similar to the letter that we received from Vintage Properties, supportive of Matt, recognize what we're trying to do and recognize the importance of the 80-20 split to support the DMO, especially on a 5-year basis moving forward. They're per to the letter that was received from Vintage, there were some concerns around the MAT legislation itself because it provides too much variability in regards to how municipalities implement the program, but very supportive of our 80-20 split, as I previously mentioned. So we have had those conversations, and again, all around support.
That's great. A second question, Chair? So Paul, I didn't see it specifically in the report, but you certainly alluded to it before you went to the chart on page 16 for the estimated 6-year revenue forecast. And I wrote down what you said. You said 4% is the norm. So again, public engagement wasn't a big sample size. But we talk all the time about Speak Up Lincoln.
Yep.
I didn't see the statistics in here, but I did review them, and we asked for, anyone to have an opportunity to say 0%, Matt, 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, and then sky's the limit. So there was a number of people that were basically, chiming in at 0 to 4. Was there any consideration whatsoever to go anywhere between 1 and 4?
So through you, Chair, so Councillor, good question, and we did look at that. We looked at the possibility of potentially staggering it similar to some other municipalities in Niagara that have gone from a 2 to a 3 to a 4 over a period of time. In feedback from some of our STA partners and the accommodation sector as well, the concern is that they have to retailer the program or the collection every year. And going to 4% right off the bat, as I previously mentioned, does put us in line where other municipalities in Niagara will become January 1st, 2025. So we may be slightly ahead by 1% for a 6-month period. But going to a staggered approach will probably put a little bit more of a burden on the STA partners. So we looked at it, Councillor, but we do think, that staggered approach leaves money on the table, which we know from a DMO perspective needs financial input, but also from municipality side to help offset any contributions we give.
Thank you for that response, and through you, Chair, my final third question. So Paul and Brittany, I appreciate all the work that you guys have done here. I really do. This isn't easy lifting, and but I do come from a place where solid business cases are important to me. From my perspective, and I'm just putting it out there, and I do appreciate everything you've done. I think there are, and to Mayor Easton's comments, there are risks here. There's risk in everything we do.
Sure.
I think there are a lot of assumptions here. I think you've said that you think you're very conservative, and that 25% occupancy rate on the term is low, and that 40% on hotels is low. I believe the latter.
Yeah.
I did reach out to probably 4 or 6 Airbnbs and bed and breakfasts, and I can tell you that anticipation for 2024 is they're hoping and praying they get to 25%.
Yeah.
So there will be peaks and valleys, there's no doubt. I just hope that, that we're doing the right thing here, and that your conservative figures are accurate, and that we are going to be able to move forward with this. But with that, I will finish, and I appreciate all the work. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Brunei. Councillor Michalak.
Thank you very much, Chair Patriva, through you to Paul. It's kind of a complicated subject we're talking about because one's intertwined with the other, so forgive me, if I'm talking about the wrong item at the wrong time.
No problem.
Great report, like there's a lot of information here, a lot of data and a lot of best case scenario and best guess, a lot of estimates, right, and forecasting. So question I have with regards to this is the timing. And we're looking at our STA bylaw, we're looking at that. Do we need to have that licensing in place before we can collect this MAT tax?
So through you, Chair, to the Councillor, the short answer, Councillor, is yes. It's very helpful. If you have a licensing and regulatory framework in place on short-term accommodations, it does help on the MAT tax side of things because your remittance of MAT could be tied or can be tied to the issuance of the license. But we recognize, as I stated in my comments, that there was, as Councillor Brunet alluded to, a very spirited discussion on October 16th when we had our public meeting. A lot of the concerns that our operators had was on the short-term licensing side of things, not necessarily the MAT side. As we recall, most of the people left the room, and those that did stay spoke in favor. But it is somewhat tied. So that is why we're saying approve the MAT, but give us a 6-month window of education and onboarding, which will allow both planning and economic development staff to come back, most likely in Q1, so February of 2024, to come back with our recommendations to council. I know planning and economic development staff have met a few times over the past month since October 16th to talk about our recommendations moving forward. But at the end of the day, this 6-month window gives us that time to onboard and get the licensing approved.
So I think that's where the concern I have is the message that we're sending, by approving this to the STA members of the public that were here back when they were here, that it almost seems, I don't want anyone to automatically assume that there's going to be a bylaw passed for STAs. That's what I want to make sure that that's not the case. But is that the case? Maybe the CAO can ask that. Is this the right time to be presenting this? What are the optics of this by passing this at this time when we're requiring a bylaw for STAs? Or maybe planning, or I'm not sure, is the timing proper from an optics perspective?
Through you, Mr. Chair, why don't I take a stab at it? I see Director Bruder nodding, and I see Mr. Danny wanting to chime in. I think, Councillor, in an ideal world, we want all these things to align and intersect at the appropriate timing. However, I wouldn't say that by approving one, the industry or any of those individuals that were in our council chamber should make any assumptions. I think what we heard was not a opposition to a short-term accommodation bylaw, but what would be in that bylaw and how rigorous it would be. I think from a staff perspective, we're in support of having that bylaw in place. I think where it's going to come down to deliberations amongst council and the consultation we received is what does that look like? What is the level of rigor we're going to put in place? So I don't see it as anything that would stop us from moving forward right now, but I'll look to Director Bruder if he has anything to add.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think our CAO said it best. I think one of the things we don't want to lose sight of here is there's still an opportunity for us to further shape what that business licensing framework looks like. And even at that, as Mike said, that, I don't think we're necessarily sending a message to the industry that it's a done deal, but there's still some work to be done to shape it according to input received. And I'm confident that we're going to be able to do that to address a lot of what we heard. So, I think there's still an opportunity to work that moving forward.
Thank you. And I think that's what's important here is that, that we don't, that one of the things we heard was that it was too onerous. That was a big word that was used. And we may look at a proposed bylaw and say, no, you know what, I don't like this. This is not what the people want. Or we may look at it and say, yeah, this is perfect. Great job. At this point, I don't know. And that's why I'm asking those questions. And then a third question is this third? Probably, two, okay. Through you, is with regards to cost, and it's been mentioned that there's no cost, there's an upfront cost of a levy ask, but there's no cost. But if we do pass a bylaw to regulate and monitor Airbnbs and homestays and that sort of thing, would there be a cost to enforcement of that bylaw? Would we need bylaw officers? Would we need fire? Would we need, is there actually a cost that we may not be thinking of inadvertently?
So through you, Chair, to the Councillor, good question, Councillor, and, as Director Bruder just indicated, we're still working out what that proposed regulatory framework and licensing regime will be for short-term accommodations. As the CEO indicated, the level of rigor in terms of that process is yet to be determined. And so, I don't know if cost has fully been identified because we can make it less rigorous. But at the end of the day, there is no cost to, other than that one-time upfront fee, there's no cost to bring forward a municipal accommodation tax because the tax pays for itself. Part of that revenue from the municipal accommodation tax could be used to offset any potential cost on the bylaw aspect on the regulation and licensing of short-term accommodations. But again, there's no cost to the municipality on the MAT side of things. And again, as Director Bruder indicated, we're still coming back with some recommendations on that. I think the CEO wanted to speak as well.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I could. So, Councillor, I guess the answer is it depends. It depends what we ask of residents. And I think, as I said in my previous comments, what we heard loud and clear is don't make the process onerous. Make sure we have a process in place that does what we want to do, and that is put things in place to make sure people who come here and stay in these establishments are safe. But there's a spectrum of that, and I think that's the conversation we heard. We've already talked as staff what that spectrum looks like. We say we need a crawl, walk, run approach. We're going to focus on hotels first, and then we're going to move to Airbnbs. And so I think from that perspective, I understand your concerns around is there cost outlays that we're going to have to commit to? And I would say right now, no. We also heard loud and clear from council and the community that's not something you want when we come back. So I think what we shape this report to highlight will put some more of the onus on individual owners to supply information versus us going out and actually doing onerous inspections and so forth. But I don't want to presuppose where council goes or where the staff report goes, but I would say we hear you.
No, and again, I'm not opposed to the MAT. I pay it everywhere I go. It seems to be a new norm to see this, tax on a bill. Doesn't matter what country you're in. Do I like it? No. Do I pay it? Yes. And it's just the cost of the room. And but it's just. Yeah, it's just it's the process that we're going through, that it's in a timely and proper fashion. I'll refrain from that. I see the board's lit up. I'll come back, and I have one more question down the road. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Michalak. Then be wary of where they add parking on as well. That happened in Windsor. Sometimes you get a parking fee added on to your bill. So be wary of that, which is a heck of a lot more than the $4 for the room. Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's why I don't go anywhere. Just right. No fees up there. Question on the math and the numbers. And I'm trying to do the mental gymnastics to make sure my questions are MAT tax and not DMO, and it's not easy. With the 20% that the town would retain for the first 5 years, what are the plans for that? I know there was on one of the slides it mentioned that it's going to be for tourism marketing on the town behalf. Just a little more insight into what that might be.
Good question, Councillor, and through you, Chair. So what we're proposing, I had mentioned in remarks, is that for the first 5 years, that 20% actually go towards reducing the levy contributions to the DMO, which we're going to obviously talk about in the next presentation and slide. So we're going to propose to use that to offset any of the contributions we're making from the levy perspective to the DMO. Moving forward, let's say we're in year 6, that money, and I stated legislation is quite open to interpretation in terms of how we want to use that money. It does relate to or mention tourism-related infrastructure, but from my perspective, tourism-related infrastructure can be parks. Tourists enjoy our parks. It can be our roads. Tourists use our roads. Residents use our parks. Residents use our roads. So at the end of the day, it's money that can go to support tourism, but also support our community and our residents. Beautification, signage, wayfinding, those are other things that could be used.
Okay, thank you. And follow up, Mr. Chair. So if it's just going to go back towards alleviating some of that burden on the levy, why not just make, and again, I'm not talking about after year 5, because I know that's when things get juicy,
Yeah.
but why not just make it 100% contribution for the first 5 years, keep it cleaner, and then that levy contribution actually comes down a bit, and maybe it's a little bit more palatable for everybody just to, because there is a little bit less risk, and it just seems a lot cleaner. Any thoughts?
So good question. I thought about that. But I think 80-20, retaining 20%, lets us play with the money if, for example, it overperforms. Because if we're committing 100% to the DMO, then that gets 100%. But with an 80-20 split, the 20% we retain allows us to play with it. So we would use let's say it's only $27,000. We would use that amount to offset the levy contributions to the DMO. And anything above that we get to use for some of the things that I related to. Okay.
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Russell, just additional comments in regards to the 20% holdback. The town of Lincoln will always have a role in tourism. We're the destination manager. So setting the stage in order to do business in this environment to help support our local operators will require infrastructure and will require ongoing assessment of whether or not our local amenities, our roads, our multimodal trail systems, our parks, advocating at multiple levels of higher government as well with better rural transportation networks. We still have a role and a voice in tourism, which will still require some financial expenditures of the town in years to come. So by maintaining a small portion of that to ensure we're setting the stage to market this destination in a way where the town of Lincoln is ready and willing and able to handle that volume of visitation, this 20% will allow us to ensure that the stage for tourism is set in Lincoln.
See, so through you, Mr. Chair, see, those are two different messages, both very good, and I like both of them. I like one where we get to maybe save a little bit of money, and one where we get to reinvest it back into the initiative to begin with.
So I can clarify for you,
Maybe it's a
Councillor.
mix.
And there's a slide in the next presentation that is actually going to talk about a destination management plan. And I think Ms. Bazuski was referring to that, and I'll talk more about that in the next presentation.
Okay, so it's a clarification, just very, very quick, through you, Mr. Chair.
Clarification of the third question.
Yes. So if there is some potential to reinvest this, or not reinvest it, but to put it towards the levy, would it be put towards the following year's levy to reduce that contribution, or would it just be in the current year? Like, let's say, again, in 2025, it's earmarked at about 43,000, and half of that goes towards Brittany's initiatives and half goes maybe back towards the levy. Would it potentially take down the 2026 contribution of 100,000? Or is it all in the current year?
So it would be in the current year.
Okay, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Russell. Councillor Timmers.
Thank you very much, Chair Patriva. Through to the presenters, thank you so much. So my question was kind of around where Councillor Russell was going. So on page 14, and the occupancy rates, I think, in my opinion, are low. I know when you came the first time around, there were comments that, oh, your numbers are way too high. So now I think your estimates are too low, and that's just my opinion. I think they're going to be a lot higher. So where you're projecting out to year 6, and then we go to 60%. I'm wondering, is that always going to be a changing number? Like, how did we land on 60%? Like, how do we know that that's a good number? Not a 50-50, more for the town, but just asking the question on that.
So through you, Chair, to the Councillor, 60-40 is the general norm as well that we've seen across Ontario. It is what our partners next door in the city of St. Catharines are proposing with their municipal accommodation tax. And again, similar to that 4% that is the norm, the 60-40 seems to be the norm as well.
Okay.
At any point through a budget process, staff and council could always change that split. But at the end of the day, legislation states that at least minimum 50% needs to go to an eligible tourism entity.
Okay, well, that makes perfect sense then. As far as the, the chart or the page that shows how you remit it, and I'm come from a home business where I had to remit GST, HST, and I was like, thought I was going to lose my mind when they brought that in. And when I looked at that, how the remittance is set up, it's extremely simple. very, very easy to do. So I just wanted to make that comment. That looks great. And I personally don't see any risk here whatsoever. I think any money is better than no money. And we've seen other municipalities that are doing this very successfully. So absolutely, I don't have any concerns around the risk comments. So thank you.
And I appreciate that,
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor. And Chair, if I may, the benefit of using ORMA is, as I previously stated, they do this for over 25 municipalities in Ontario. They have a complete digital system down pat that makes it as little onerous on our businesses, on our traditional hotel partners, but also on our STAs, and makes it very simple. We recognize these are small business owners. Some of them just doing it on the side. So we want to make it as simple as possible, and that's why we're recommending ORMA.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Timmers. Councillor McCulloch.
Thank you very much. Just another question along collections through you to Paul. So it just seems, am I crazy to think there's a lot of this is on the honor system? Like how do we, we're relying on people to tell us what they collected, remitted it by yourself, you're sitting at home remitting it yourself. How do we ensure that that's what we're actually, or that's what is actually being charged or billed? We can't go after their tax returns. We can't look at their HST returns. How do we ensure that they're not just fudging the numbers, let's say? Not that we have those sorts of people in town, but,
A good question, and through you, Councillor, or Chair. So it is based on the honor system. However, municipal accommodation is a legal tax, just like the HST is a legal tax. There are ramifications if you do not remit the full HST amount. There are ramifications if you do not remit the MAT tax. In the bylaw that is attached, there are provisions in there that would allow us to go in and look at the books, for example. Look at what you sold over the course of the month and what you remitted. At the end of the day, as you indicated, our business owners are very straightforward and very forthcoming, and I don't foresee a concern around that. But at the end of the day, it is a legal tax passed by the municipality.
so just through you, just to clarify, there is a legal recourse for us as a municipality to analyze those ledgers, those books?
Correct.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Paul and Brittany. Excellent presentation. And just, you tweaked me, just one quick question. So the 80-20 split, 60-40 split when we get into year 6, and having attended the Sport Tourism Summit a couple weeks ago, those funds could be used for attracting events. And then we're going to have a dearth of hotel rooms, which could actually accommodate events. Because, being a dad who's traveled around the province with his kids playing hockey and baseball and lacrosse, and every year when we go to Whitby for lacrosse provincials, it infuriates me, knowing that the Lacrosse Hall of Fame is in St. Catharines. And if we take all of the rinks that we have here in fields, we could probably host that. So that would allow you the ability to be able to go leverage funding from TPN, because they had a blockbuster event. So money in with additional provincial money and local money to go after events, right? Because it was all about, and Brittany, I thought I was listening to you because it's about experiences, right? It's about creating something and making it exciting. And don't be afraid to do it. And Minister Lumsden was very eloquent in that. Everyone has it's out there and it's being done, so why not us? So just your thoughts on that.
Chair, completely agree. As I stated, the legislation really allows the municipality to determine what that tourism-related use could be. So it could be going after sporting events that bring more people to our community to stay in our accommodations, to visit our wineries, to visit our tourism sector. It could be used to offset costs towards community events, because visitors come to our community events. Fling on King, for example, could be something that we support through this. But again, for the first 5 years, we're saying that our amount that you see at the bottom of the slide would go towards offsetting our levy contributions to the DMO. If anything, it overperforms and comes in, we'd obviously put that towards the budget process and get council's approval.
Yeah, and I just think it's terrific. I mean, having been a partner with FIBA and the World Under 21s and, us creating events here, the playing field is now level. So I think it's exciting. Mayor Easton.
I knew that when I asked you to go to that summit, that was a good idea. Sending me to the sports summit would have been a complete waste of time. However, I'm certainly interested in your comments. Mr. Chairman, through you to Mr. Deanne, I would like you, Paul, to speak very deliberately and separately from any other points on the issue of generating revenues beyond the levy. Because when it's talked about in with a whole lot of other things, it's lost. And we don't have very many ways of generating revenue, and this is one of them. So please speak to that as an important ongoing component.
Most definitely, and Chair, through you to the Mayor, I mean, it becomes a revenue source for the municipality, hands down. Municipalities have very few opportunities to raise funds. Predominantly, we raise funds through property taxes. This is an opportunity to raise funds through visitors that come to our community and enjoy our community, use our roads, use our parks. It's an ability to get revenues from a completely different source. So it's about revenue.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councilor Renchema.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of questions. And first, a comment. Earlier on, it was interesting that the discussion about short-term accommodation bylaw and regulation, that we're not putting all our eggs in that basket. And we've heard that tonight, which is great. And there was a discussion, I just want to make a comment on this. There was a discussion that we may go forward with the short-term accommodation bylaw, we may not. And that's true, we don't know yet. We don't know what's going to happen. But one important point about that, and we're hearing this over and over again, is that it can be an important part of a formula or a group of initiatives that can help offset the pressures that short-term accommodations are putting on the residential rental stock. So that's an important part of why we kind of want to consider that and move forward with it, because that's a concern from a housing perspective. And a question I have is, so we're talking, a few people have mentioned the 20%, and Director Deanne, you had said that it offsets the levy contribution, and that's the plans for it. So the various examples of what we would apply the 20% to are, to me, examples of investments that would be offsetting the costs of an increase in tourism. For example, fixing the roads. If we have an increased number of cars traveling our roads, we could apply some of that 20% to fix our road signage, etc. So because the DMO is proposed to be funded just by tourists, I had asked during the last budget discussion a year ago if there's a way to quite literally hand some of this money that taxpayers are investing now through the base budget of 75, the base budget of 75 this year, and the increase to the base budget of 75 this year. Is there a way to quite literally hand that money back to the taxpayers that they've invested thus far, and that we're asking them, or we may be asking them to invest this year? For example, by putting it into the rate stabilization fund. And let me say, I'm in favor of this DMO and all the great work that I think that we've continued to enjoy from the Economic Development Department over the years. The towns, it's amazing. There's lots of examples of really, really, really great things that are happening. And I'm in favor of this, and I'm in favor of increasing tourism and the Destination Marketing Organization and everything that's happening. I just want to make sure that we do this in a way that's least onerous on the taxpayer at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to Councillor Rajima. I mean, all good comments, Councillor, and good questions as well. If we could just hold that question for the next report and presentation, because I think some of your answers are going to be, or questions are going to be answered when we go through that presentation and report.
Okay, I can do that.
Are you finished, Counselor?
I'm finished because I'm gonna.
You're going to save it for later.
I'm gonna,
It's
thanks.
a song that should be in your repertoire. Counselor Russell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, this is one of those ones where it's kind of split between Matt and DMO, but I think it's more Matt. So you mentioned that, the 80-20 split potentially could be one of those things that council revisits on a yearly basis. Again, the budget allocation through the levy would be one of those things that we would do through budget. And is that the case, or as we do, again, if this goes through and it gets approved as it is, like, should we not almost have like an MOU to say, like, we want to make sure that that 80% is static for those 5 years, so that whoever is on that DMO, they understand the egg that they have to work with, or the seed they have to work with, instead of having that come back and maybe there's fluctuation. Like, I'm just trying to make sure it's set up for success, should it go through.
So great question, Councillor and Chair, through you. So part of the legislation requires that a municipality sign a financial accountability agreement with the eligible tourism destiny to identify how much of the MAT is going to the organization, when it's going to be remitted, what it's going to be used for, and so on and so forth. So that is legally, we have to do that. And I will make sure that, we sign a financial accountability agreement with the DMO before any MAT tax even starts to get collected. We do recognize that in some other jurisdictions, in Niagara, there's been a little bit of a chicken and the egg, but we want to make sure that our financial accountability agreement is signed as quickly as possible before MAT even starts to be collected. So that will identify specifically in terms of what's the percentage, what's the amount, what's going forward.
And through you, Mr. Chair, is that a multi-year, or is it a single year renewed?
Generally speaking, it's single year renewed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I see no further questions. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Reimer that report AD 14-23 regarding a municipal accommodation tax in Lincoln be received for information, and that committee recommend to council to approve the bylaw attached as Appendix A, being a bylaw to enact a municipal accommodation tax in the town of Lincoln. And committee recommend to council to approve the proposed 4% municipal accommodation tax per room per night on paid overnight traditional accommodations such as hotels, motels, and inns operating in the town of Lincoln effective April 1st, 2024. And committee recommend to council to approve the proposed 4% municipal accommodation tax per room per night on paid overnight accommodations at bed and breakfast organizations, short-term accommodations, STA providers, including all online home sharing platforms, and campgrounds, RV parks on short-term rentals only, operating in the town of Lincoln effective July 1st, 2024. And that staff be directed to provide public notification that a municipal accommodation tax is being implemented within the town of Lincoln, and that the mayor and town clerk be authorized to execute an agreement with any eligible tourism entity respecting the financial accountability required to ensure that all municipal accommodation tax amounts paid to the eligible tourism entity are used for the exclusive purpose of promoting tourism as required by Ontario Regulation 435-17 or /17. And that the mayor and town clerk be authorized to execute an agreement with the Ontario Restaurant, Hotel, and Motel Association and name them as the corporation of the town of Lincoln's official collection agent for the town's municipal accommodation tax, as per the Municipal Act 2001. And that the treasurer be directed to create a municipal accommodation tax reserve for all revenues collected from the municipal accommodation tax. And that the treasurer be authorized to make one or more payments in each fiscal year to the eligible tourism entity that the corporation of the town of Lincoln has entered into an agreement with. The payment total is to be equal to 80% of the municipal accommodation tax revenue collected, net of a reasonable program management fee, and that the town's portion equal to 20% of the municipal accommodation tax revenue be directed to support tourism-based investments such as community placemaking, beautification, signage and wayfinding, infrastructure, programming that supports our citizens, visitors, and overall guest experience, and other tourism-related services, all subject to the annual budget approval process. And the staff be directed to report back to committee on a biannual basis on the municipal accommodation tax collected during the fiscal year. I will now ask our deputy clerk to open the vote.
Thank you, Chair. That vote's now open. Councillor Rajima, can I have your vote verbally, please?
I have a question, please, regarding process.
Chair?
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Can we not, there's another motion coming regarding the DMO after this.
Yes.
Can we not vote on these together because are they not sort of tied in together?
No, they're completely separate.
To me, they are tied together. To me, they are tied together. I haven't received an answer on my question about where the 20% could possibly go. So I'm not prepared to vote on this motion until I consider the other report and get an answer on where that 20% could possibly go, whether it could go back to the
Okay.
stabilization fund.
Mr. Kirkopoulos? Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chair, or to you, I mean, the clerk has reconfirmed that they're two separate motions, two separate reports, two separate agreements that we're going to enter into. So I guess if the counselor is reluctant to vote, then that's either she is absent in from voting or
Abstains.
I see Director Deanne. If there's any questions we can answer for the counselor, I would encourage her to ask them, and we can try to provide further clarification. But the two reports, albeit the issues are similar, are separate reports, separate bylaws, and separate processes.
Thank you, CEO Kirkopoulos, and Chair, through you to the councillor. So in one of the recommendations in the report this evening, we do talk about the 20%, our 20%, and it does say everything is subject to the annual budget process. Should council decide that that 20% wants to go towards the rate stabilization fund, that would be council's purview.
Okay, a question of clarification. Is it not in somewhere in legislation that was referred to earlier on what we can do with that? Whether it can go back to the rate stabilization fund or whether it has to go toward tourism-related initiatives? Did I hear that?
So through Chair, through you to the councillor, as I indicated in the presentation, the legislation is quite open to municipal council's interpretation in terms of how they want to use their portion of the MAT. It does talk about tourism-related infrastructure, but again, as I indicated, it would really be up to council's purview through the budget process.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm ready to vote.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Counselor. If I could get your verbal vote, that would be great.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I'll close the vote, and that motion carries. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Devan. So we will now consider the delegations pertaining to Report AD 13-23, Unlocking Lincoln's Tourism Sector, Creating a Destination Marketing Organization. We have 5 registered delegations for this item. Please note that the delegations have up to 5 minutes to speak. Both Mr. Jacobs and Mr. Thiel have withdrawn their delegation for this evening, and as such, we will move on to the next delegate, Justin Downs, representing the Tony Valley Tourism Association. Justin, please go ahead.
Through you, Chair, thank you very much for having me here. It's nice to be on this side. It's been a while. I've been watching through YouTube. So through you, Mayor Easton, members of Town Council, for those of you who may not be familiar with me, I'm Justin Downs. I'm here today as the Chair of Tony Valley Tourism, representing the Association's Board of Directors and Lincoln's long-standing DMO. I'm honored to talk to you about something really important, the future of the Destination Marketing Organization here in Lincoln. Firstly, a big thank you to the Mayor Easton and the Council for supporting Tony Valley Tourism over the last 25 years. In this community, your support has been critical for our tourism community success, and we really appreciate working hard together. But today, I want to talk about why we should keep growing and improving our DMO. It's not just a thing. It's what makes our town stand out, show off our special charm, where I grew up, and it's a charm of Niagara's Benchlands to the world. Town staff, along with insight from our board, have worked hard on its sustainable and strategic plan to take Lincoln's destination marketing capabilities and tourism economic growth to the next level. We're not just asking for money, we're asking for a shared vision. We want to keep growing, create jobs for the future, and make sure Lincoln stays at the forefront of tourism in our province for a long time. Putting money into our DMO isn't just about attracting visitors. It's about helping and supporting businesses, creating more jobs, and giving our community something to be proud of. The DMO is like a chef in the kitchen. Yes, I had to throw that out there. Ensuring that all the ingredients work together. It's to make the dish cohesive. This too is true for a shared role in destination management by the town and the destination marketing of Niagara Benchlands by the DMO. So when we talk about this plan, we're not just asking for support, we're asking to work together on something big. Revitalizing our DMO is like investing in a shared future. It's about making Lincoln a top destination, a place that keeps growing, a place we can showcase, and a place that we can love. We have done great things together, and I hope you can keep going. Let's be leaders, dreamers, and supporters of Niagara Benchlands. And in closing, a big thank you for your time, commitment, and dedication to making tourism in Lincoln ever better. Together, we can make our DMO not just a wish, but a force for the future that's brighter, more sustainable, and full of endless possibilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Justin, are there any questions to the delegation?
Perfect, I'm off there.
Thank you. Yeah, you're a sigh of relief. Our next delegation this evening is Aaron Mitchell, representing Megalomaniac Wines. Aaron, please go ahead.
Good evening to council, mayor, and staff. Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Erin Mitchell, and I have been president of Megalomaniac Wines in Vineland since February 2020, and also, to mention, born and bred here in Vineland as well. Our winery was named the #3 winery in Canada in this year's National Wine Awards of Canada, and we were also recipients of the TripAdvisor's Traveler's Choice Award for 2023. And I like to think that we're one of the many businesses that are here tonight who are helping to put Lincoln on the map as we grow and develop into what I think is a compelling tourism destination and a key tourism driver within Niagara. In my career prior to working at Megalomaniac, I was founder of a Niagara-based advertising agency and a tourism marketing consultant. Worked many years ago with the TVTA, actually. And my agency was agency of record for 3 of the province's regional tourism organizations, the RTOs. And I also worked closely with DMOs throughout the province of Ontario, developing their marketing and strategic plans, including developing the 5-year tourism marketing strategy for Northern Ontario on behalf of the province's destination marketing organization, Destination Ontario. All the point of that being, I'm also bringing here tonight a significant amount of experience in building and supporting DMOs across the province of Ontario and working with them. I have many, many success stories from other communities where DMOs have played a crucial role in transforming local tourism landscapes. I've seen this in action. There are numerous case studies that provide evidence of the positive outcomes that can be achieved through strategic destination marketing, contributing to increased tourism, but also job creation and a boost in local tourism revenues. Through my experience, I've observed the significant economic impact that these organizations can have in communities that are similar to ours. Closer to home, our winery has been an active participant in many Niagara Benchlands activities, and I've been able to witness firsthand the positive impact they can have on tourism growth. I believe that a well-supported DMO is necessary for tourism growth, and particularly at this juncture. Niagara statistics point to the fact, as recently as statistics we all saw in the Tourism Health Check in November, that tourism levels in Niagara have yet to recover fully from pre-pandemic times. And I can attest to the fact that our business is not back to the tourism levels that we saw in 2019 pre-pandemic, most notably visitors from the US and Quebec. The DMO is pivotal in promoting the unique attractions and experiences our community has to offer. and this in turn attracts more visitors, contributing to increased foot traffic at local wineries, but also restaurants and other businesses. I want to assure you that it's visitor numbers at our winery that directly drive our hiring patterns and the number of both full-time and seasonal workers and staff that we employ to work in administration, retail, consumer experiences, and in our on-site restaurant. Based on my past career working with DMOs, I'm also aware of the costs required to market effectively and the impact that sustainability has on the ability of a DMO to effectively plan and execute their marketing programs. This financial commitment that you're looking at from the town of Lincoln is crucial to the success and the sustainability of the DMO. I feel that the development of a local DMO requires collaboration from all sectors of our community, and that by financially supporting the DMO, the town of Lincoln is demonstrating its commitment to foster a collaborative environment here that benefits businesses and residents alike. I think it's a strategic investment, a visionary investment, and that it has a lot of long-term benefits. It aligns with a collective goal of economic growth and creating a vibrant community. And I'd just like to end by saying, please, let's build on all of our recent successes and let's position Lincoln as a leading destination in the province. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Any questions to the delegation? Councillor Bernay.
Thank you, Chair. Aaron, thank you very much for delegating and for your words. It sounds like you just presented your resume to sit on the board of the future DMO. In all seriousness, thank you very much for your insight. And so that's really what's prompting my questions, just based on what you just told us. So you're very familiar. You're involved in the community through Megalomaniac. You've lived here. So you're understanding exactly the dynamics. So currently, we are working together to partner with St. Catharines. In your estimation, you mentioned collaboration and you mentioned working with other municipalities in your career. Do you see there's an opportunity for Lincoln and St. Catharines to work with other municipalities in a DMO moving forward, in your opinion, from your experience?
Wow. Well, I think the move to work with St. Catharines is fantastic. Again, my experience working as agency of record for the Tourism Partnership of Niagara, I'm familiar with all of the different communities in the region and what they have to offer. I think Lincoln partnering with St. Catharines is putting two strong groups together with collaboration. You can do better with two than you can with one to pool those resources. It would be interesting to see what other communities in the region had to say in terms of further partnerships, but I do think collaboration, sharing resources, and pooling resources is always beneficial.
Through your chair, just a follow-up question. So Aaron, I just have one other question. Do you believe, from your experience, from your entrepreneurship, do you believe in the statement that the private sector should have skin in the game?
By that, I'm not sure if you're referring to things like pay-to-play programs for marketing and contributing from that perspective. There's many ways to have that skin in the game. Skin in the game, to me, can also take the form of support. For example, Megalomaniac, we help to support media when they come to visit the area. Host them, show them a wonderful time so that they'll write wonderful articles about what a great destination this is. I consider that skin in the game. We can give of our time and our talent by contributing in an advisory capacity on boards in different areas like that. And I would like to see all businesses support the DMO, but I think there are many different ways of doing that.
I appreciate that response. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Bernay. And that was one of the things that was constantly kind of drilled in my head, the relationship between us and St. Catharines as a Napa Valley, Napa City, that was built upon. And St. Catharines actually took it one step further when the TPN was established, the RTO, and pooled their dollars with us. We only stood to gain because at that time when the calculation was derived, it was derived based on rooms. And we had virtually no rooms. And St. Catharines saw it in their infinite wisdom that we had the product and they had the rooms. And we were a match, much like Napa Valley, Napa City, and it worked. And your agency on that initial marketing campaign wove those intricacies together, and we had so much content in that initial magazine. I still have it at home. I'm so proud of that magazine, and actually the work that we did together and put us on the map. So thank you. Thank you, Councilor Bernay. Thank you, Aaron. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next delegation this evening, Clayton Letourneau, representing Custom Sign Land. Clayton, welcome back.
Thank you, Council, Madam Mayor, and all the staff in attendance. Again, my name is Clayton Letourneau, and I'm the proud owner of Custom Sign Lab, a non-tourism-based business nestled right here in the heart of our vibrant community. While my business may not be directly tied to tourism, I am here wholeheartedly expressing my support for the establishment of a new destination marketing organization for the town of Lincoln. You might wonder why a business like mine focused on custom signage and fabrication would be so enthusiastic about a tourism initiative. The reason is simple. A thriving tourism sector isn't just good for businesses directly involved in hospitality or entertainment. It's good for the entire community, including businesses like mine. When tourists visit our town, they're not only exploring our attractions and enjoying local hospitality, they're also noticing and engaging with all local businesses. The role of my sign shop becomes crucial in creating a visually appealing and welcoming environment for these visitors. The more vibrant and bustling our town is, the more likely it is for people to stop, explore, and patronize local establishments. As a business owner, I've seen firsthand the positive impact a robust tourism sector can have on the local economy. It's not just about selling a product or service, it's about building a community where businesses can thrive together. The creation of a DMO is a strategic investment in our shared prosperity. Tourism is a catalyst for economic growth and creates a ripple effect that benefit businesses across various sectors. From restaurants to retail shops, each establishment contributes to the unique tapestry that makes our town special. A DMO will help us market our town effectively, drawing more visitors who in turn become customers for local businesses like mine. Moreover, a well-executed tourism strategy enhances the overall image of our town, making it a more attractive place for residents and businesses alike. It fosters a sense of community pride and drives a positive perception that extends far beyond the immediate economic gains. I urge the Town of Lincoln Council to consider the long-term benefits of investing in a DMO. The returns may not only be measured in terms of increased tourism revenue, but also in the sustained growth and prosperity of all local businesses, even those seemingly unrelated to tourism. In conclusion, I stand here not just as the owner of Custom Sign Lab, but as a proud member of this community who believes in the potential growth and success that a well-supported tourism industry can bring. Let's work together to build a town that not only attracts visitors, but also provides a thriving environment for all businesses of all kinds. Thank you for your considerations.
Thank you very much, Clayton. Any questions to the delegation? Mayor Easton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Clayton, for your great work and for being here this evening. My question is around the inclusiveness, or not so inclusive, of DMOs, and how you would evaluate that characteristic.
Can you clarify inclusiveness?
Whether DMOs by their nature are inclusive organizations, or whether they essentially only focus on one sector.
So while the fact that DMOs do focus mainly on hospitality and tourism, I believe that for a region such as ours, the specific focus on those elements of the community are purposeful in the prosperity of all businesses within the community. A restaurant needs a bookkeeper, a winery needs a farmer. There are so many related industries, such as mine, related industries that can connect with directly influenced businesses that interact with the DMO and are supported by the DMO. So I would argue that it's not even a light trickle-down effect. It is a direct impact of having a strong DMO on businesses like mine. And that while the sort of reach of the DMO only expands to tourism and hospitalities, that the effect is actually far greater than what is sort of seen at the direct inclusion level.
Are you a member of the Lincoln Chamber?
I am, yes.
So how would then, if we look at the chamber and we look at the DMO, where do you see the line, if one exists?
As a chamber member, I feel like there's a great opportunity for the chamber itself as an organization to align with the DMO. I know that the chamber has a wonderful relationship with the town of Lincoln, and that there are plenty of opportunities to connect the dots between all three organizations. With the idea that DMO is standing alone of its own organization. I believe that they're well suited to partner in various initiatives, and that as a member, I would support the chamber pursuing a connection to the DMO.
Very interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. And it's funny you say that, because at my time, we were developing an association membership to have that. And Clayton, you were very eloquent in pointing out, the relationship of your business involved, saying it might be wine and food based, but one of the best examples that I can recall was the watering can. So when we did our tourism, we did our passports, our winery passports, our Get Fresh and our Wrapped Up in the Valley, right, which was focused on our wineries and our restaurants. And the watering can saw an opportunity about, being a stop along the way. And so they provided a free workshop to all of the participants to come and do an arrangement of sorts. And Lisa Lautenbach was the first one to actually realize the connection. There's 2,500 people going through here on the weekend. How do I get them to my place? Offer something free. And now you've seen the growth and expansion of that business. And we all know someone, my wife was there a week ago doing, the arrangement. And that's just, smart business people will gravitate to opportunities. Clayton, you're an example of that. And I can see this, becoming even greater. So that line, that blurry line, much like, the tourist doesn't see a line painted on the ground separating municipalities, it's the same with business. So appreciate your words of encouragement.
Thank you,
Clayton,
Chair.
thank you. Councilor Brunei.
Thank you, Chair Patriva. So yes, Mr. Letourneau, it's really refreshing, not that it's not refreshing to hear all the people that are specifically from the wine and hotel accommodation sector, but I'm just saying that I think it's really important to hear from someone that isn't in that sector and that comes here and takes the time to spend, 3 hours sitting through both sessions. Your comments are very refreshing, and I appreciate that. So I believe I had the opportunity to speak with your partner, your wife, at a recent business opening, a ribbon cutting that we did within the last week or so. Had an interesting conversation with her. So your business is in Beamsville. Mm-hmm. Do you reside, is your residence in Beamsville?
We don't reside in Beamsville. We reside in Grimsby.
Okay.
But we still, honestly, Lincoln has a very special place in our heart because we were so well received when we moved our business from Grimsby to Lincoln in 2019.
Okay. I asked that question because, at the end of the day, we're all taxpayers. Mm-hmm. And we want to support tourism, we want to support that sector, but at the end of the day, we're taxpayers. And sometimes I talk to certain entrepreneurs and they're promoting this, and then when I start talking about the fact that as taxpayers, we're actually contributing, they start looking at me as if it's glazed over. So I was just curious as to whether you're paying you know, you're paying a business tax and you're paying a residence tax in here, and what your thoughts were. But neither here nor there. You're here tonight, you're waving the flag, you're supporting it, and thank you for being here this evening. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Bernay. Councilor Michalak.
Thank you, Chair Patriva, through you to Clayton. Thank you for coming and offering your perspectives from similar to what Councilor Bernay was saying. So one of the things I hear from some people is, you know, they don't like tourism. They like the town staying the way that it is, right? So I'm sitting here balancing, you know, weighing, doing what I think is best for everyone. And your perspective, do you think it's possible that, let's say, you know, we do this and it becomes wildly successful? Is there a possibility, you think, where you would say, man, I advocated for tourism and now it's kind of gone out of control? And is there a point, you know, like if you, I'm sure anyone that's been to Disney World, residents in Orlando, they probably question the success of tourism. Do you ever think about that Lincoln takes off to a point where?
I believe that most of the time there are two types of people. There are those that reflect with NIMBYism, not in my backyard, and there are those that reflect with the opposing view, which is yes, in my backyard. My opinion is that if this takes off and expands beyond our wildest expectations, there's no downside to that. There will always be opponents to growth. There will always be opponents to expansion. I exist on the other side of that. My perspective is that, especially when it relates to what we were previously speaking about with the MAT tax and now speaking to with the DMO, that the community as a whole will benefit from a more vibrant tourism sector, not only creating jobs, but supporting the infrastructure that supports regular residents of the area. Being able to see the projections for year 6 as outlined in the report, they're very promising, and being that they are conservative numbers, there's going to be a substantial amount of revenue that is channeled back to the municipality that will support all of its residents and the businesses, inclusive in the municipality. I'm walking distance, our shop is walking distance from Town Hall here, and there are a huge number of support-based businesses that are located in Lincoln that can benefit from a more thriving sector, and I can see all of those businesses growing to meet the demand that a expanded tourism industry would create.
Through you, Chair, I appreciate your well thought out answer and your honest answer, and it's a challenging subject. And yourself as a business owner, you're working away trying to pay your taxes. Myself, I'm walking the streets hearing people that are paying taxes, and I value your opinions and your views and your perspectives. So thank you for showing up tonight and putting yourself out there, to make yourself available to questions from ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Michalak. And I've got to remind you, in earlier days, you were one of the earlier adopters, right? You saw the firsthand benefit of tourism at your station, and you handed out maps like crazy, so, right? You were a promoter, and you weren't Hotel Europe, right? So, and that's how that works, so thank you. Thank you, Clayton. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Okay, so our next delegation this evening is Michael Dilliot, representing the Reveille Brunch Cafe. Michael, welcome, and please go ahead.
There we go. Thank you for having me. My name is Michael Dilliot. 6 years ago, with my business partner and brother-in-law, Mitchell Lamb, we founded Reveille Brunch Cafe in Vineland on Victoria Avenue. I think I've fed a good number of you, so thank you. So I'm here tonight in support of the DMO. As a restaurateur in the Lincoln community, I understand the vital role that the destination marketing organization could play in boosting the success of local businesses, including restaurants. My experience in collaborating with other Lincoln area businesses has shown me that many challenges building this type of business, but also the opportunities that still exist here. I have actively collaborated with various local businesses, including wineries, breweries, and other establishments, and have become convinced that a DMO fosters collaborative efforts among different sectors. I would return as well to Mr. Letourneau's comments that restaurants can have that trickle-down effect. When we think about how to allocate the money that we do have after we pay our staff and suppliers, when things are tight, extra things like upgrades to signage or infrastructure are delayed. When business is good, we look for ways to improve, and I think there are direct knock-on effect of that. So sorry to ad lib here, but a well-supported DMO can significantly increase tourism, bringing more intentional visitors to Lincoln, and consequently more patrons to local restaurants. This increased foot traffic directly impacts revenue for establishments like mine. I'm often asked by cafe guests where they should go after brunch, and regrettably, their follow-up to that question is in Niagara-on-the-Lake. And although I advise them to stay on the benchlands of Niagara because the good stuff is over here, these kinds of conversations underscore the need for an approach that's more comprehensive than me running a few ads for my own operations. So I think the Lincoln-focused DMO would be a great asset. Lincoln has a burgeoning culinary scene, and a robust DMO could effectively showcase this diversity to a broader audience. By highlighting the unique flavors and experiences our community offers, we attract food enthusiasts and contribute to the overall appeal of Lincoln. For context, I would say roughly 70% of our visitors are from Toronto. The success of our culinary ventures has not only contributed to the culinary richness of Lincoln, but has also resulted in job creation for a significant number of local residents. A thriving DMO will further stimulate this job growth by bringing more visitors to our community and position it as a culinary tourism hotspot. The success of my business directly influences the stability of employment for a considerable number of local restaurants. A flourishing DMO ensures a steady influx of visitors and provide a foundation for business which allows us to offer more stable and higher quality employment. My understanding is the 5-year commitment to the financial support for the DMO aligns well with the time needed for the municipal accommodations tax to mature and support the DMO independently. And in conclusion, financial support for the development of a local DMO is an investment in the continued success and growth of Lincoln's culinary and hospitality industry. Not only enhances the local economy, but it also contributes to the unique charm that make Lincoln a destination unto itself. Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much, Michael. Any questions of the delegation? Councillor Timmers.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.
I really appreciate, the different perspectives from different kinds of businesses and restaurants. And you're in Ward 4, which is my ward, which is fantastic. I do frequent there. I was wondering, like you said, 70% of your patrons are from Toronto. How do you gauge that? Like, how do you have that information?
I got to say that's very anecdotal.
Okay.
But we are pretty well versed with our quote unquote regular customers who we see often, and we know their names, and we know their families and kind of what's going on with them. Like, people are very chatty. Like, we have a very small space. But in the summer, people are very open about, conversing where they're coming from, how long it took them to get here, how traffic was, and like I said, where they should go next. So.
Yeah, I guess I was just curious, like, how if you're marketing that area, or it's just happening.
I don't have data. I don't market at all in Toronto.
It's word of mouth.
It's word of mouth. And like I said, it is anecdotal. So that would be my best guess, though.
Yeah, no, it's just interesting. So, with our DMO, it'll promote everyone, and everyone will win, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The trickle down. I didn't even think about it. I couldn't understand why Clayton was here. Like, it took me a minute to understand it, but everyone wins. If there's tourists coming to our doors and they're spending money, the trickle down, everyone's going to benefit. So.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Timmers. Councillor Bernay.
Thank you, Chair. Michael, thanks for being here. Just curious, has your business you and your partner been or ever been members of the TVTA?
No.
So follow-up question, Chair. I asked Aaron, I believe it's Aaron, the same question. Do you believe the private sector should have skin in the game moving forward in the DMO?
I mean, for our part, we're maybe on the small side, but I would echo her comments that there are a lot of ways to do that. I also don't necessarily need, in the establishment of a DMO, I don't necessarily need tourists to come to my business in order to benefit, right? If they're in the area, I see an increased likelihood that eventually they'll end up with me at one point or another, whether I, pay to directly advertise them to come to me, so.
Perfect. Thanks very much.
Mayor Easton.
Well, interesting response, Mr. Chairman. I think it does take a unique kind of thought process to see yourself part of something that doesn't necessarily drive a lot more big business, a lot of big business to your door. But Mr. Chairman, my question is, I don't quite know how this gentleman came here tonight without a few orders of Eggs Benedict. I heard from Madam Clerk that they're pretty spectacular.
I'll have to owe you one.
I'll do that for sure. Good answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Okay, our next delegation this evening is Norm Beal, representing Peninsula Ridge Estates Winery and Restaurant. So please go ahead, Norm.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam Mayor, councilors, and members of the committee as a whole. I would like to sincerely thank you for allowing me to speak here today to express my wholehearted support for the establishment of a joint designated marketing organization for what I believe could someday be one of Canada's top tourist destinations. I have no doubt about that, by the way. My name is Norm Beal. I'm the president of Peninsula Ridge Estates Winery. I'm also the president of the Beamsville Bench Winery Association, and I built what I hope is a world-class wine and culinary destination right here in the town of Lincoln, and I've operated for over 23 very interesting years. Over the past 5 or 6 years, or frankly, it could be even longer, I've been intimately involved, along with town staff, several of their talented consultants, and many other Lincoln tourism stakeholders, in building a long overdue tourism marketing, and more specifically branding strategy, that truly reflects the extraordinary attributes of our community. Although this process has taken many years of hard work and commitment, we've arrived at a concept that I feel rivals some of the best tourism branding strategies in the country. I look to Newfoundland as an example of a great branding strategy that's been brilliant and driven their tourism industry way past their expectations. I think Niagara Benchlands is equivalent to that, or even possibly better. Make no mistake, the Niagara Benchlands brand is world-class and has already gained significant traction despite being launched during a global pandemic and the worst tourism decline in Ontario's history. I want to thank the leadership of this council, the town of Lincoln staff, and everyone else that played an important role in making this happen. So now is the time to take this great concept and make it tangible and real, to take it from an idea and turn it into action. The best way to do this is through the tried and true establishment of a joint designated marketing organization, and I believe that this initiative, backed by a diverse revenue stream from both public and private sectors, holds immense potential to fuel economic growth and elevate tourism in the Niagara Benchlands. The proposal before you today for a joint designated marketing organization aligns seamlessly with the shared vision of local businesses like mine, and obviously you've heard several others that feel the same way. And it is with great enthusiasm that I extend my endorsement for this strategic venture. The prospect of a collective effort drawing upon public and private investments signifies a united front that can significantly enhance the promotion and visibility of our unique offerings in Lincoln. A diversified revenue stream is not only a testament to the widespread commitment of our community's prosperity, but also a pragmatic approach that can withstand economic fluctuations. The fusion of public and private resources will undoubtedly fortify the DMO, ensuring its resilience and effectiveness in marketing our town as a premier destination. Again, after years in the making, the time to act is now. Your support for this initiative today will allow us to start in the important work of building and executing a viable and effective tourism marketing plan, one that will be instrumental in supercharging our economic growth, that will extend beyond our individual enterprises to benefit the entire community. From job creation to an upsurge in local spending, the DMO has the potential to stimulate growth, foster community pride, and position Lincoln as a must-visit destination in the Niagara Benchlands. Finally, I wholeheartedly endorse the creation of a joint marketing destination organization for the town of Lincoln, along with the municipal accommodations tax to help fund it. I believe that this collaborative venture, supported by diversified revenue stream, will serve as a catalyst for tourism growth, fostering economic prosperity, enhancing the vibrancy of our community. I want to thank you for your dedication and commitment to the betterment of Lincoln's future. We are blessed to live and thrive in a community that still has that small town feel, but recognizes the need for intelligent and balanced growth. That will ensure the prosperity and the health of all of our citizens well into the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Norm, any questions to the delegation? Councillor Bernay, I saw your glee in that one comment of the public-private, so take off on that.
Mr. Beal, thank you for spending the evening. I know you said you were pinch hitting for Mr. Thiel, but based on that speech, I think you knew you were coming here all along. Seriously, Norm, you know, you've been around, you've been involved in many organizations around the province, not just in Niagara. You've lived through the TVTA, and the TVA has served us well, and we've done great work with the TVTA. From your experience, from the organizations you've been involved in through your leadership in all sectors, is there some advice? You know, I don't know if you're planning on putting your name in to be on the board moving forward, but if, you know, standing before here, you know, on the eve where we might be launching this, you know, is there any advice you can give to the, you know, our staff and us as council? Any pitfalls, anything that you feel is critical for making sure that this organization, this new DMO, is going to be successful? You know, from your, you know, you've seen how things can fall off the turnip truck, or off the peach truck, or off the wine wagon. So if you could just, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I really, you know, want to hear what you have to say, because you've done all this.
Thank you, Councillor, and I appreciate your support. I will definitely stay tremendously engaged in this whole process going forward, and am fully committed to making sure I see the success at the other end. And to answer your question, we have a lot of very, very talented people within the town of Lincoln, both, by the way, your staff, some very talented councillors around this table that have, you know, I think doing a very, very extensive job of sussing out sort of the risks and managing the risks going forward. But I look at people like Erin, who, I mean, she's an expert in this field. I look at the support around the table, the other people who have showed up here on their own time to make these, I think, very, very informed comments about the importance of this deal. The commitment to me, and I talk a lot about private and public partnership, the one risk and the one thing that we have to ensure going forward is that we have 100% buy-in, right? We can't have partial buy-in, and we have to have 100% buy-in from industry. You've asked, I said to Aaron a few minutes ago, he says, I hope he asked me about the skin of the game, asked me that skin of the game question, because I've got an answer for him. I can tell you right now, skin in the game, there's a lot of skin in the game on behalf of this industry right now. I just stroked a whole bunch of checks to the Ontario Craft Wineries, to the Wine Marketing Association, to all kinds of things. So I've probably spent about $10,000 in the last month and a half that go directly towards local tourism, okay, outside of the DMO. And that's not to mention all of the other things that I will spend money on. I just bought a whole bunch of ads in the Hamilton Spectator and in the local newspaper to attract people to hopefully my restaurant, hopefully my winery, but you know, as they're driving by, they can stop in a lot of other places on their way. So skin in the game, I'll tell you, industry right now has skin in the game, lots of skin in the game, and will continue. The risk is we got to make sure that they feel like they're benefiting by being here and that they're being supported. And right now, I fully believe that we are fully supported by this council, by the staff here in the town of Lincoln. It's a very collaborative approach. I think I call it a team approach, and we have to make sure that continues. Our relationship with the individual chambers of commerce, that sort of thing, those all play together. So the risk is that we continue to grow that collaborative effort and keep this as a team sport.
I appreciate that response, Mr. Beal, and, you know, we do charge for your, you know, putting out your publicity for your surf and turf here at council, so.
Thank you.
Checks in the mail.
Councillor Mikulak. Thank you, Councillor Bernay.
Thank you very much, through you to Mr. Beal. Yeah, no, I was going to go down that exact road, tried to get there earlier, but, you know, I love the way you answered the question, and, you know, yeah, I didn't know. I don't know what you pay. I don't know what your contributions are, so it's educational for me to hear what you have to say.
Sure.
Because if I was sitting here as an Airbnb owner or as a, you know, a hotelier, I would be saying to myself, why is it just us paying? So I think it's important that you just made the comments that you made, and certainly appreciate them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Mikulak. Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and again, I appreciate the passion, Mr. Beal, and I think I'm one of I think I'm the newest member of council as far as living in Lincoln. I think everybody here has got deeper roots than I do. And I think that the first time I actually ever encountered you was on the show Opening Soon, back 10, 15 years ago, and then I saw you in Avondale. I was like, wow, that's a guy from Opening Soon. You mentioned your interest in the board or potentially being part of it. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on the board structure. I don't know if you've taken a look at what it might be. Is there any thoughts on the structure as it is right, or as it's modeled to be, and how that relationship with St. Catharines and their members might be? Any thoughts on that interworking?
Yeah, look, I think the model that we have set up currently works. One of the things, as I think I talked about earlier to Councillor Burnett, is that we really want to have a tremendously collaborative approach. So we've got to have, this can't be dominated by the wine industry. It can't be dominated by the restaurant trade. I think absolutely certainly the town of Lincoln has to have a seat at that table. If we are partnering with the city of St. Catharines, they need to have representation at that table as well, including some of their key industry players as well. So to me, it's making sure, and I think the formula is there, but it's having that balanced approach and that very inclusive approach to make sure that we're getting a lot of different perspectives brought to the table on an ongoing basis. That way, we'll have the opportunity to actually foresee upcoming issues, problems, opportunities, and we'll be able to address them in, I think, a very collective way, and with bringing to bear all of the talent that we have in this area. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah. I like the structure. I think that's the right way to go forward.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Mayor Easton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Very good to see you again, Mr. Beal, and I'm really glad that you're here to give us your non-Pollyanna approach to the future. And I'm quite serious about that because there is risk in everything that we do. But when you have people like we have here this evening with your depth of experience, it goes a long way in terms of some of the questions that have been put in front of all of you and the way you've answered them. I'm hoping, Norm, that you're going to be able to answer this question. Mr. Chairman, this is in regard to wayfinding signage, which we've been very unsuccessful in being able to implement. In your experience, is there any way of judging what the lost opportunities are by not having appropriate and effective signage? And I am not being paid by the sign man behind you.
I don't know, I want his card before I leave, but, it's interesting you bring that up, Madam Mayor. I think there is, I'm sorry, can you just rephrase the question for me?
I'm trying to determine whether, in your experience, and there may be others, Mr. Chairman, that we could find out, because this is one of the most tangible outcomes of this whole process, getting the word out. And so what I'm trying to determine is whether, in your experience, you can actually assign the opportunity that is lost by not having effective wayfinding signage.
I think in today's day and age, and I'm sure my sign guy behind me is going to disagree with me to some extent, I think in today's day and age, that's a very, very hard determination to make, because the general public, I think, do a lot more planning around experiential sort of outings or events, and they do that through social media, or they do that through Google, frankly. And I'll be honest with you, Peninsula Ridge no longer has a sign on the QEW. When I first put it up there, I thought it was an absolute must to get people to, as they were driving down the QEW at 120 kilometers an hour, to pull off to go and to see my place. Over the years, I kind of felt, well, this is more an exercise in satisfying my ego than it is people actually coming or, seeing my sign and pulling off the highway. People, generally speaking, don't do that. When you get inside a community, I think that changes, and I think my sign guy could probably tell me, to back that up with probably some facts, but intuitively, I think that changes quite a bit. When you've gotten off the highway and you're now here in the Niagara Benchlands, and you're touring around, directional signage becomes very, very important, because you're now kind of on that journey, on that experiential sort of trip that you're looking to try and expand as you go. Whether that's a restaurant or it's a point of interest to some extent. I get trapped in that all the time, because when I do see a point of interest on the side of a highway, or when I'm on a journey to something, I will pull off the side of the highway and go and experience whatever that thing is. So I say that in probably a very confusing way for you to understand, because, as I said, I've taken my signs down off the highway, also in protest because it's done by a company out of the United States that puts those signs up, which really ticks me off that we can't do those signs ourselves here in our own backyard. But I do believe but I do believe there is a lot of value in having this kind of directional signage to elevate and inform the experience once you've gotten here.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, so I am a little bit surprised by your answer, only because we've been talking for such a long time about wayfinding and directional signage, and I think that the wineries up in Councillor Benet's neighborhood seem to have got it right a long time ago, and they just started slapping colorful boards up on a post. However, having said that, is it the look and feel of a community? As you say, when people come into the community, it's the look and feel of the community. And so, by virtue of that, do we need to make sure that we consistently invest in look and feel? Is that the counter to the signage, or not exclusively the counter to it, but does that play a part in it?
Well, I think it absolutely does, Madam Mayor. I think the look and feel is all about the experience and all about who we are. Does directional signage play a key role in that? I'm not so sure. If you know, you probably do know that the Beansville Bench Winery Association have their own signage system just for the little loop that we have, the what we call the fingerboards or whatever. And that was to sort of capture people that were just getting off the highway and kind of starting the little journey around our neck of the woods. But it's not consistent with anything else that's going on in the town of Lincoln. I don't know if that's confusing for people. I don't think it is. It shouldn't be. But what we're trying to do in our little neck of the woods is try to pull them in and capture them within our experience, within our little local area. It's something that we feel is unique. Not by the way, to try and not have them go to other parts of the Niagara Benchlands to experience what else there is to offer. We believe that that's all a part of the tremendous attribute that we have here in Lincoln.
Yeah, it sounds to me like there's probably going to be a significant change in that direction once you all get together and start talking about the whole.
Well, as you know, Madam Mayor, the Wine Council, now the Ontario Craft Wineries, for years is being very, very cautious and careful about what their signage looks like, where that signage is. There was a battle that went on with the city of St. Catharines for years because they wanted us to reroute the wine route through downtown St. Catharines, which many wineries thought that's not really, there's no wineries down there. Why are we doing that? So, but I can tell you that wine route signage, the guide that we spent, again, skin in the game, that guide's hundreds of thousands of dollars, right, in advertising fees that wineries pay into. That guide is a critical component, backed up by the signage, in getting people to enjoy the wine route. Wine route's a very, very important marketing tool for our industry.
Very interesting. I must admit, I have enjoyed the conversation from everyone, because it's like having a round table, and we just have never had the opportunity, haven't taken the opportunity to do that. And while TVTA was in place, Mr. Chairman, we didn't really have the need. But I think that things are changing now, and I want to thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. And Norm, just a question and comment in closing. So, and you were involved with TVTA during my tenure, and knowing that at that point there was an unsustainable funding model. In your opinion, with this new model set up, with MAT tax going towards it, and actually businesses now who understand a pay-to-play model, do you think it's now set up for success?
Yeah, yes, I do, Mr. Chair. I believe that this is the model, and I'll tell you, Erin can speak that probably way more informed than I am, because she's been so heavily involved in the past. But I think this is actually the only way to go forward successfully. I think we've tried the TVTA, and we had some successes with the TVTA. I won't say that it was a total loss. But no, I believe that going forward, this is the only way to do it. And I want to also say, and this is really, really important, is that this is all anchored on the back of a brilliant branding strategy by your own staff here in the town of Lincoln, and all the great work that they did. I am a huge believer in Niagara Benchlands as a branding strategy to move our industry forward. What we're just missing now is the mechanism, the mechanics to get this thing working. This, implementing a strategy, that sort of thing, and that's what the DMO will always do.
Yeah, it was previously it was a name that didn't really resonate. There wasn't a lot of buy-in. Now with that Niagara Benchlands model, it's an engine just waiting for the key to be put in and turned, correct?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Norm.
Thank you.
So, I see no further questions. So, in addition to the delegation's written correspondence from Niagara Grape and Wine dated December the 1st, 2023, Tourism Niagara dated December the 3rd, 2023, Fielding Estate Winery dated December 4th, 2023, Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority dated December 5th, 2023, and Lincoln Chamber of Commerce dated December 6th, 2023, Hidden Bench dated December 6, 2023, Central Fabricating and Welding dated December 6, 2023, and the Culinary Tourism Alliance dated December 6, 2023, be received after the agenda published deadline was circulated to members of council for consideration with respect to this item. There being no further delegations or information for this item, I have a motion moved by Councillor Russell. The committee receive and file as information the following delegations and written correspondence regarding unlocking Lincoln's tourism sector, creating a destination marketing organization, AD 13-23. Justin Downs, 20 Valley Tourism Association, Aaron Mitchell, Megalomaniac Wines, Clayton Letourneau, Custom Sign Lab, Michael Dilliot, Reveille Brunch Cafe, Norm Beale Peninsula Ridge Estates Winery, Niagara Grape and Wine, Tourism Niagara, Fielding Estate Winery, Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, Hidden Bench, Central Fabricating and Welding, and the Culinary Tourism Alliance. I will now ask our Deputy Clerk to open the vote.
Thank you, Chair. That vote's now open. Councillor Regima, can I have your vote verbally, please?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. And that closes and that motion carries. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Devan. So we will now consider Report AD 13-23 regarding unlocking Lincoln's tourism sector, creating a destination marketing organization. The Director of Economic Development and Communications, Tourism Development Officer, and Economic Development Officer will be providing a presentation, but first, I will ask that committee proceed with a majority vote to extend their speaking time.
Show of hands, please. Thank you. That carries. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, I actually had a motion moved by Councillor Russell. The committee extends, so we're okay? Okay, sorry about that. I kind of jumped ahead of myself. Okay, so that's carried. Paul, Brittany, and Cameron, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and it's good to see everyone again. So, members of council, I appreciate this opportunity to present to you this evening our recommendations on developing a new destination marketing organization for the town of Lincoln, a joint partnership with the City of St. Catharines that will benefit both of our communities. A shared service model, if you will, that will allow us to pool resources, combine the best attributes of our communities to increase tourism and economic growth. And lastly, of course, help grow our local economy through increased investment, job creation, and supporting our local businesses. As an economic development professional, I recognize the role that tourism plays in our community. It creates jobs. It allows people to put a roof over their heads and food on the tables for their families. Lincoln is a tourism hotspot, and through a new sustainably funded DMO, we can help create more wealth for our community, benefiting both residents and our businesses. Everyone in Lincoln benefits from tourism, whether they recognize that or not. We all have family members that work in tourism, jobs that help support our families or help pay for our tuitions. The people in this audience this evening are both property taxpayers, but also business owners that have put both blood, sweat, and tears into their businesses in our community, employing our residents and supporting the overarching economy that is Lincoln. Tourism and hospitality is a supercluster here in our community, a term economic development professional used to highlight the importance of one sector and the value chain it has. While I know it may seem that we only focus on tourism and hospitality in our activities, I assure you and the public at large, we do not. This year, we have undertaken many activities that have supported our small businesses, such as our Work in Lincoln initiative and the job fairs to help support and connect job seekers with local employers. However, tonight is about setting our tourism sector down a path of economic prosperity and job creation through the establishment of a new DMO for our community. Tonight's report and presentation is our business case on why we need to support this organization in a time-limited fashion, thereby helping get it off the ground. Naturally, the DMO will need to develop their own business plan on their activities, their financials, and their marketing strategy. End of the day, we are creating a private sector-led organization, but one that we will have seats at the table. So as mentioned, tonight Ms. Bazlewski and Mr. Rotz and I will be walking you through several slides. We're going to be talking about growing the tourism industry here in Lincoln, setting the stage for tourism, a market trends and demand analysis, the DMO, its purpose, its structure, and its strategies for success, an implementation and launch plan, some financial projections and risk mitigation, some expected outcomes, of course, 2023 activities that we did to support DMO-related activities, as well as I'm going to be touching on the development of a destination management plan. So what is our overarching goal? So our goal is to grow our economy, to create jobs and wealth for our residents and businesses. We are, as we all know, a greenbelt community with fixed urban boundaries. Unless the province were allow us to remove portions of our land from the greenbelt and allow us to build a second industrial park, our greatest opportunity for economic growth is through tourism and value-added agriculture. In addition, with investment in tourism hospitality comes investment in other places in our community, our downtowns, our beautification, industrial investment, and more accommodations and retail. Tourism is the catalyst for further investment and economic growth in Lincoln, and I know that many of our delegates this evening reiterated that. Lastly, by supporting value-added agriculture and tourism here in Lincoln, it protects our rural lands and ensures generations to come can enjoy our agrarian landscape. So in terms of the importance of tourism to our community, employment growth is up 11% in tourism and hospitality here in Lincoln since 2015. I know Mr. Rotz is going to go through some numbers in more detail, especially what occurred throughout the pandemic. But tourism contributes $2.4 billion to our local and regional economy. Tourism accounts for close to 1,700 tourism-related jobs in Lincoln. That is a base number. That does not include seasonal employment, which grows obviously during the high season, as well as migrant workers to support the farming aspect of what our wineries and our agricultural community does. This also does not include all the value-added chain businesses in Lincoln, such as retail or the industrial jobs that support tourism, similar to what Mr. Letourneau said previously. So while Lincoln has many competitive advantages over other tourism destinations in Niagara or across Ontario, it is important to note that Niagara sees close to 13 million visitors a year. Our goal is to get more of those visitors to visit the Niagara Benchlands. Key item to note here as well is that tourism hospitality pays $3 million a year in property taxes, money that goes towards supporting the high-quality services and infrastructure that us in the region undertakes. So back in 2017, we kickstarted an economic development strategy process to help identify our strengths, our weaknesses in Lincoln, as well as the best opportunity for economic growth and job creation. Highlighted in that strategy was that tourism, agriculture, and value-added agriculture represents our greatest opportunity for economic growth. And I know I'm going to say that a few times this evening and probably sound like a broken record, but the more I say it, the more it is going to be true, and it is. So that strategy, which Council passed in 2018, indicated the need to develop a tourism strategy here in our community. Our tourism strategy, which began in 2019, was approved by Council in June 2020, which answered the overarching question, what is the town's role in tourism? And of course the answer was and is, the town should play a larger role in managing the overarching destination. We should develop a new tourism brand for the community. We should continue with a third-party DMO to help drive destination marketing. And we should bring in other public and private sector partners to fund and manage the DMO. And lastly, we should transition the 20 Valley Tourism Association to this new organization. Since adopting the strategy, we have been hard at work getting all of the fundamental pieces in place that culminates in tonight's decision. This has been a long and rewarding process that Council has asked us to do, and while I would like to have gone faster, it behooved us to take an incremental approach to both getting some base funding in place, but also ensuring the other various pieces aligned, such as the municipal accommodation tax. So with Council's support, 2024 will be a transition year where we actually launch the DMO and let the private sector do what they do best, which is market the destination and bring visitors to our community. So I know Mr. Beal said it, and he said it perfectly, but I did want to highlight that one of those foundational elements we needed before we can get the DMO up and running was our new destination brand, the Niagara Benchlands. This brand stands out, it is working, and people are resonating with it. And as Mr. Beal indicated, now all we need is the appropriate destination marketing organization in place to get more people talking about the place we love, that is the Niagara Benchlands in the town of Lincoln. So members of council know, and it was indicated in some of our delegations, for approximately the past 20 years, we have had the 20 Valley Tourism Association as our official DMO. In our organization, we have funded through our levy for as long as I've been here. Throughout this process, I've always said, let the private sector do what they do best, market Lincoln, and let us here at Town Hall do what we do best, which is ensure the infrastructure is in place to support tourism growth. That is why the recommendation is to continue with a third-party DMO led by the private sector, but ultimately funded by our tax, or our MAT tax, with a time-limited contribution from our levy until such time as our MAT is up and running and the DMO has other sources of revenue flowing. It should be no surprise to anyone here, but tourism and hospitality is a huge benefit to not just Lincoln, but Niagara as a whole. We are a world-class destination, with people from all over the world coming to Niagara. It creates billions of dollars in economic activity and counts for thousands of jobs. And UDMO can ensure we're getting more and more of that action here locally. I'm now going to turn to Mr. Rotz, who's going to walk us through a little bit of our market trend and demand analysis.
Thanks, Paul, and good evening, Mayor Easton and members of council. As Paul mentioned, I'm just going to go through some quick data analytics and market trends and demand analysis of the importance of the tourism industry in Lincoln's local economy. Now, before I do that, I do want to touch on some provincial as well as some national trends that we're currently seeing in tourism across the country and the province. So, obviously, we can't talk about data without talking about the COVID-19 pandemic. Obviously, that has had a tremendous impact on our local tourism economy. In fact, from 2019 to 2022, tourism employees decreased by approximately 99,000, and tourism revenue decreased by about $8 billion. However, with that in mind, in 2023, tourism revenue is actually expected to increase past pre-pandemic levels and hit approximately $76 billion. And by 2027, we're expecting these numbers to increase by about 20 billion more to 98 billion. So in 2022, Destination Canada highlighted the top activities of interest for future domestic and out-of-province trips. As you can see from the list provided on the slide, hiking and walking in nature, trying local food and drinks, viewing wildlife, fall colors, breweries and wineries, food and drink festivals, all things that Lincoln has to offer. And comparing it to our Lincoln strategic tourism attributes, we know that Lincoln has set the stage already between our natural and built assets that we're ready to play in the tourism field across Ontario. So one economic indicator that we always like to look at from an economic development perspective is the regional and local tourism expenditures. So in Niagara in 2016, the tourism expenditures, which means the total tourism, like total money spent on tourism businesses, was approximately $2 billion. And in 2022, obviously due to the pandemic, you can see there was no data in 2020 and 2021, just because they didn't collect the data during that time. But in 2022, this actually stayed pretty stagnant at $2.1 billion, with approximate 1% increase. However, if you look down at Lincoln, our shared revenue of that total expenditures was approximately 88 million. And then in 2022, this increased to 108 million, approximate 24% increase in our total tourism expenditures. Now, what this means is that Lincoln has actually increased our total market share of tourism businesses and tourism jobs compared to the overall Niagara region local economy. So another important economic indicator is obviously tourism employment through businesses, as well as jobs that come from these businesses. So as you can see in the chart on the right there, in 2013, approximately our total tourism jobs was 1,256. And by the time this year, 2023, it was 1,585. This was an approximate increase of about 26%. Now, as I said before, you can see that drastic drop in 2019 and 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, when there was many provincial and federal shutdowns that caused many of our local tourism operators to cease operation and let go a number of employees. In addition, the Statistics Canada also outlines the number of businesses with employees and without employees, meaning that a business with employees includes something such as restaurants, hotels, large beverage manufacturers, where businesses without employees includes like a B&B operator, artists and performers, and as well as small batch, even beverage manufacturing as well. So from 2015 to 2023, businesses with employees grew from 67 to 84 with an approximate 25% increase, and businesses without employees grew from 57 to 82, an approximate 44% increase. So in total, from 124 to 126, approximately 34%, our tourism businesses grow over the past 10 years. And finally, I'm just going to touch on tourism investments here in Lincoln. We took this data actually from our local building permits that get submitted on an annual basis. And what we did is we cross-referenced the applicants and if they are a local tourism business. And what we found is that over the past 5 years, approximately $6 million has been invested back into our local economy through these businesses by upgrading their establishments and things such as that. Just a list of, to name a few, includes Vintage Hotels, Cherry Avenue Farms, Cave Spring Vineyards, Hidden Bench, Villa Romana, King Victoria, and Niagara Custom Crush Studio, who all made investments back into our local economy. And I'm going to turn it over to Brittany.
Thank you, Mr. Rotz. My purpose this evening is to walk members of council and our business partners, as well as those enjoying from home, what the core purpose and objectives of this DMO are going to look like and how it's going to function in the years to come. It is no doubt that this new DMO will serve as the heartbeat of tourism growth and the growth initiatives that we intend for Lincoln, playing a central role in shaping the narrative and the future of our Niagara Benchlands. One of those major objectives is promoting the merits of the Niagara Benchlands brand. At the heart of the DMO's mandate, it's definitely to promote and serve the destination brand identity that we've created in the Niagara Benchlands. Through targeted sales and marketing initiatives, our DMO will work closely in collaboration with industry partners and the businesses within our community to highlight the region's unique, authentic, and welcoming nature. Examples of this include showcasing our diverse culture, and I can hearken to some of the great assets in our community, like the Lincoln Museum and Cultural Center, as well as our cuisine, our agritourism technology, architecture, heritage, art, and the future vision that resonates with a broader audience. Additionally, this DMO's mandate is to increase visitation and visitor spending. One of the primary goals of any DMO is to boost visitation and increase visitor spending in whatever destination they're operating within. By implementing a tourism-focused initiative such as this DMO, we aim to create an enticing environment that encourages longer stays, deeper engagement and connection with our consumers, as well as deeper engagement with our local tourism offerings. Some of these initiatives may include partnerships, such as working with local travel agencies, creating targeted marketing campaigns, as well as the development of curated visitor experiences. Additionally, the DMO is here to ensure cross-sector fostering of collaboration. This collaboration, as you've heard from some of our delegates tonight, is a key to our success and will serve as a catalyst for cross-sector partnerships for years to come in Lincoln's tourism sector. By bridging together various stakeholders, including businesses in our community, community organizations, and government entities, we create a unified front that enhances the overall appeal of our Niagara Benchlands brand and our local destination here in Lincoln. Joint marketing campaigns, shared resources, and collaboratively developed products are just a few of the examples of how our new DMO will foster the synergy of collaboration within our community. Additionally, they're here to improve the visitor experience. Visitor experience is paramount to the DMO's success. The best DMOs in our province work tirelessly to enhance the overall quality of the visitor experience from arrival to departure. This includes efforts to improve infrastructure, create memorable experiences, and ensure that our guests feel welcomed and valued at all times. Additionally, it's increasing investment in our local economy. Our DMO will also support town staff in attracting investment into our local economy from both tourism-based businesses as well as other festival and event activations, as we have called out in the Tourism Strategy and Action Plan of 2020 and 2025. By creating an attractive destination, we stimulate interest from entrepreneurs, investors, and event organizers, contributing to the overall vibrancy of our economic climate here in Lincoln. When the DMO actively supports and promotes these local businesses, it creates opportunities for economic growth and greater community engagement, including that for our residents. Additionally, it attracts high-quality, well-paying, good jobs locally. In alignment with our economic development strategy, the DMO will play a pivotal role in attracting the province and nation's top talent into our local industry by promoting tourism-related employment opportunities and supporting initiatives that align with our economic development goals. The DMO contributes to the overall prosperity of Lincoln's community. So, Council, the core purpose of this DMO will go far beyond the mere marketing of our destination. They will help shape our tourism marketing narrative for the Niagara Benchlands, foster greater collaboration within our community, as well as enhance our local operator experiences to drive economic growth. How do we intend to achieve this success? Through community consultation and research of industry best practices, town staff have developed a roadmap to success that outlines the next 5 years of establishing and nurturing a DMO for the Niagara Benchlands. This strategic plan is designed to transform our community into a premier destination, and each year will play a pivotal role in a step towards achieving that goal. In year one, our focus is the foundation and the launch of this organization. This will include an inaugural year dedicated to laying the foundation for the DMO, including the formalization of its structure, the appointment of key personnel, and the establishment of the legal framework and governance framework that will align with our collective shared vision for the Niagara Benchlands. The DMO will be a dedicated, third-party, industry-led entity ready to spearhead our marketing and promotional efforts here for the Niagara Benchlands. Additionally, it will be about stakeholder engagement. Building on the momentum of town staff's activities to date, we intend to actively continue to engage our stakeholders and our community on this project. We will launch targeted promotional campaigns locally and regionally, showcasing the unique and authentic experience that this destination has to offer. Collaboration will be a cornerstone as we seek input and commitment from businesses and government entities going forward. Year two, we build upon growth and continue development. This will include focusing on building and further targeting marketing to support the Niagara Benchlands' key objectives for Lincoln. Our goal is to generate awareness and interest among potential visitors, investors, and partners. This will also include product development, as Chair Pachariva has spoken to multiple times this evening. So as we are building the brand, we will also be developing product that aligns with this brand identity and what the brand is synonymous with. This could include new attractions, events, and offerings that align with our destination identity. By offering a diverse and compelling portfolio of product to our local consumers will help us attract and retain new visitors to Lincoln. Year three, we optimize and we continue engagement. Year three is dedicated to optimizing the visitor experience. We will focus on improving infrastructure, hospitality services, and overall accessibility of this destination to ensure that every visitor leaves Lincoln with a positive and lasting memory. Year four is all about us going to diversify and innovate. It's going to include things like international promotion, investments into technology and innovation, and this will also help our DMO maintain and leverage cutting-edge technologies to enhance visitor experience and further streamline our marketing efforts. Year five is all about sustainability and expansion. This 5-year implementation model represents a strategic and phased approach to transforming the Benchlands into having a thriving and sustainable destination. With a dedicated DMO and a unified community, we are poised to achieve remarkable success here in the Niagara Benchlands. As we embark on this exciting journey of establishing the DMO, it's imperative that we employ effective strategies to maximize our success. The success of the DMO venture will be underpinned by a comprehensive marketing and communication strategy that ensures that the Niagara Benchlands' unique value proposition is not only understood, but it's celebrated across relevant markets. And this evening, I would like to delve into 3 of those key strategies that will play a pivotal role in our promotional efforts and the overall success of the DMO. Those 3 items include digital marketing, engaging content creation, as well as community and stakeholder engagement and sustainability initiatives. Digital marketing, as we know, we are in an age of connectivity and it's omnipresent. Our digital presence is crucial. A robust digital marketing strategy will be at the forefront of our promotional efforts. Leveraging social media platforms, as well as targeted online advertising, we aim to create a dynamic online presence that captures the attention of our targeted audiences. Engaging content creation, some of the work you've been seeing our team work tirelessly with the City of St. Catharines in developing over the 2023 season. Content is king in a marketing realm. We will invest, and the DMO will invest, in making sure that we're creating compelling and shareable content that showcases the beauty and unique attributes of this wonderful jurisdiction. From visually striking images to engaging videos, this digital content will tell the story that will resonate with our audience that sparks a desire to visit our destination. In the spirit of all things DMO and collaboration, community engagement is a vital part of this organization's success. Inclusive decision-making will be at the forefront, intertwined with community support and stakeholder input. As we lay the foundation for this new DMO, we will involve the community in the decision-making processes, seeking input on initiatives and fostering a sense of ownership and pride in their local destination brand. This will also help us build local advocates here in Lincoln. Engaging our community and stakeholders goes beyond consultation. It's about building advocates in our community who are passionate about and informed about these initiatives, milestones, and the positive impacts generated by tourism in our region. By maintaining an open dialogue, we strengthen our relationship and ensure that everyone is aligned with our vision for the future. Last but not least is our sustainability initiatives with the DMO. By promoting sustainable tourism, it's not just about a buzzword for not only our town staff, but the future success of the DMO. It's a commitment to preserving our natural and cultural heritage. Our sustainability initiatives will position the Niagara Benchlands as a responsible and conscious destination to visit. We will work together towards minimizing the environmental impact of tourism in our community and promote the eco-friendly practices among visitors and local businesses, as well as what our local businesses are currently employing in their day-to-day operations. We will also ensure community-driven sustainability as well. So, when we collaborate with our new local destination marketing organizations, we will work with our local residents as well as members of council and town staff to ensure that our growth strategy aligns with that of the municipality as well. And last but finally not least is the educational commitment we have to ensuring our partners understand their role in this new organization and how their role impacts the overall success. We will launch campaigns to raise awareness about the responsible tourism practice we're fostering here in the Benchlands, as well as provide our local operators with the tools and resources they also require to share and champion that that message as well. The success of this initiative, as we know, rests currently on the shoulders of you, my fellow members of council, and Madam Mayor, as we continue this commitment to enhance Lincoln's visibility and attract visitors to our destination. How do we foresee achieving these strategic goals in the short term? The slide in front of you here shows the framework and the milestones in which town staff intend to guide and help the DMO hit in the upcoming 2024 calendar year. So in Q1, it's all about setting the legal governance, and framework for the organization. This crucial first step in establishing a solid legal foundation for the DMO is pivotal. This includes a well-defined constitution, bylaws, and organizational structure, but it also ensures that our collaborative efforts with the City of St. Catharines ensure consistency and legal harmony across both communities. Additionally, in Q2, we will continue working on organizational development. This includes further enhancements to the governance and advisory structure. The governance structure, including the roles and responsibility of the board of directors and subcommittees, will be designed for effective decision-making and streamlined operations. St. Catharines, in partnership and in input, ensures a harmonized approach to fostering collaboration and shared leadership in this project. Q3, we dive into what the DMO is most excited about diving into. It's building that marketing and communication strategy. Our communication strategy will be one that is tailored to reflect the unique identities, of both Lincoln and St. Catharines, ensuring a cohesive yet locally resonatable message. With substantial funding, we're poised to develop a comprehensive marketing strategy, creating and sharing content, building websites and social media plans that help to attract visitors in our key market segments with tailored campaigns for maximum impact. And then finally, in Q4, with the support potentially of council tonight, we will look to formally launch this organization with an annual general meeting and elect its first ever peer-appointed board of directors. Pardon me. There's been many comments and questions tonight around the diversified revenue streams and what the potential for this new DMO might look like when it comes time to financial sustainability. So let's get crucial or granular on the topic of a diversified revenue streams that will underpin the sustainable financial development of this local destination marketing organization going forward. Town staff, along with community consultation, have crafted a strategy that draws parallels to established industry best practices, ensuring that our approach is both innovative, but also in line with successful destination marketing organizations, as Ms. Mitchell spoke to earlier this evening. Some of those items and activities include the development of an annual destination guide, grants from upper levels of government, looking at marketing investment programs. This is where we've discussed the skin in the game topic this evening on multiple occasions. This is a key component for DMOs as it pertains to diversified revenue streams. Investments can be minimal financially, or to Aaron's point earlier, they could also come by way of value in kind services in diversified streams. This DMO will also have to hustle and attract and retain sponsorships, which cannot be overstated as a potential revenue source in our industry. Additionally, we will look to both municipalities to contribute a critical pillar of our financial strategy, which includes a dedicated contribution, whether that be from MAT or levy, to help support the DMO and its strategic initiatives moving forward. All of these diversified revenue stream tactics are not only rooted in industry best practices, but are tailored to meet the specific needs and opportunities that we have available for our destination here in Lincoln. By incorporating a mix of these funding sources, we ensure the financial resilience and financial independency of this new destination marketing organization for the town of Lincoln. At this time, I would like to turn the podium back over to my colleague, Mr. Deaney, to bring you through our forecasted contributions.
Thank you, Brittany. So, members of council, in front of us are a forecasted DMO contributions and town levy impact for the new destination marketing organization. So in terms of some assumptions, we'll go over these. For a 5-year period, the town of Lincoln keeps 20% of MAT revenue and the DMO receives 80%. This allows us to reduce our levy contributions at a faster rate, something I indicated in our previous report and discussion. Beginning in 2029, 0 levy contributions, and the split goes from 60-40, with the town keeping 40% of MAT revenue. MAT revenues are net of ORMA's cut that you would have seen in the previous presentation, and as previously discussed, 25% occupancy for STAs and 40% for traditional hotel rooms. So in 2023, council approved $75,000 for DMO-related activities, and I know Ms. Bezlewski will be up momentarily to talk about what we did with that money in 2023. What we're asking for is council to approve an additional $75,000 to bring us up to a $150,000 contribution to the DMO in 2024. Recognizing that the town's portion of MAT revenue will be $27,000 in 2024, our levy expenditure will be offset, meaning that the true impact is $123,000, which is only a $48,000 increase from 2023. In 2025, we begin to reduce the levy amount and give the DMO $115,000, which will be offset by $43,000 from the town's portion of MAT, meaning that the true impact of the levy is $72,000, a decrease of $51,000 from the previous year, meaning we're giving back $51,000 to the operating budget to be used for other expenses or budgetary pressures. In 2026, we're further reducing our levy contributions to $100,000, which will be offset by $48,000 in town MAT revenues, meaning that the true impact is $52,000, a further decrease of $20,000 from the previous year. In 2027, we're reducing our contributions to $80,000, which is offset by town MAT revenues of $53,000, meaning the true amount is $27,000, or a decrease of $25,000 from the previous year. In 2028, the last year contributing levy to the DMO, the spend is reduced to $60,000, which is offset by town MAT revenues of $59,000, a true spend of only $1,200, or a decrease of $25,000 from the previous year. In 2029, the town's portion of MAT revenue is estimated to be $331,000, and in 2030, $340,000. If we add up all the rows, while we're contributing a total of $580,000 to this organization, this is being offset by approximately $900,000 in the town's portion of MAT. So we're actually up $322,000 over this time period. At the bottom of the slide is what the DMO will receive over this period. Members of council, this is a prudent plan to support the DMO with a time-limited levy support, allowing the DMO to get up and running, and it is a minimal impact on our levy. What we're saying is use some of the $3 million a year in property taxes the sector pays and reinvest it into the DMO for a short period of time. So I know previously there was a question and comment around risk mitigation, and at the end of the day, members of council, the DMO needs to live within their means. They need to develop a business plan that ensures financial accountability to the municipality, but also puts money aside for contingencies, while making sure they do not go into debt with their spending. I'm confident that the private sector-led board will do just that. On the screen in front of you are some risk mitigation strategies that the DMO must adhere to, allowing them to diversify their revenue and ensure long-term success. So now Brittany's going to walk us through some expected outcomes. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Deaney. Our desired future state for this DMO envisions a highly successful development and implementation and operationalization of a local DMO that's collaborative in nature. What we aim to achieve is not just a functional organization, but a dynamic force that propels the Niagara Benchlands into the spotlight. Our primary goal is to elevate the awareness and interest in our destination within key markets and among targeted visitors segments. This heightened awareness will lead to quantifiable growth in visitation numbers, visitor spending, investment attraction, and positive economic impact here in Lincoln. Additionally, the success of the marketing initiative will translate into increased revenue, providing a sustainable funding source for the DMO and help it to support various town-led initiatives and business initiatives within the tourism sector. This financial growth will further fuel our local economy, creating a positive cycle of investment and development into tourism. Additionally, recognition of the Niagara Benchlands as a leader in excellence in tourism. We aspire for the Niagara Benchlands to be recognized as a leader in tourism excellence, not only here in our province, but across Canada and internationally. This recognition not only boosts our prestige, but attracts attention and interest from travelers, investors, and industry stakeholders of all kinds. The success of the DMO will also contribute to an improved and expanded collection of amenities, experiences, and attractions in Lincoln. This in turn will enhance the overall tourism operating, creating a more compelling destination for our visitors and residents alike. We want the Niagara Benchlands and this new DMO to position Lincoln as the destination of choice for tourism businesses and events. We envision the Niagara Benchlands becoming a destination with the support of the DMO as a choice for tourism businesses and festival and event planners. High-quality amenities in place by the support of the town as destination manager will help us to attract and support these activities, fostering a vibrant and dynamic tourism ecosystem here in the town of Lincoln. Additionally, we're very excited about the skilled and diverse labor force attraction that the DMO can positively have on this community. The success of the DMO will not only benefit the tourism sector, but will also contribute to a skilled and diverse labor force for us here in Lincoln. High-caliber jobs will be created, providing meaningful employment opportunities, contributing to our overall health of our economy, as well as future growth potential for us as well. Our vision for the future state of the DMO, once again, is not just about building an organization. It's about the future of the Niagara Benchlands. With these expected outcomes, we're confident that the DMO will play a pivotal role in transforming our community and recognize us as a world-class leader in tourism destination attraction. As Mr. Deaney pointed out, we have leveraged the investment of $75,000 allocated by council through the budgetary process in 2023 to support many of the key initiatives you see on the screen, but I wanted to draw attention to how we specifically spent that $75,000. The screen in front of you has all the destination and marketing promotion activities we undertook as a town staff last year, but more specifically, that $75,000 investment went into the establishment of the administration and legal framework for what we're proposing for this new DMO. It also supported annual tax filings, the development of our new consultant, as well as community consultation activities that we undertook earlier on in the year, as well as in late 2022. It also contributed significantly, to joint marketing with our partners in the city of St. Catharines. As many of my partners behind me can attest to, the investment into the development of content, assets, strategic marketing campaigns has leveraged incredible benefits in our community. You yourselves have probably seen our features in Globe and Mail, our Niagara Benchlands being featured in and showcased as a place brand leader in this year's yearbook for 2023, as well as seasonal radio campaigns, as well as local targeted print advertising and provincial and international marketing as well. Before I turn the podium back over to Mr. Deaney, I should also note that town staff leveraged this investment on several occasions to acquire matched funds from our regional tourism office and other levels of upper government to ensure that the activities supported by joint marketing for our community, such as the Niagara Ale Trail expansion and our 2023 seasonal asset development, we like to think that we leveraged $1 and turned it into $1 million to help support this local economy. Mr. Deaney?
Thank you, Brittany. So members of council will recall at the beginning of the presentation, we talked about the role and function of the municipality and the DMO. The DMO is going to market the destination. We, on the municipality side, we're going to manage the destination. So what I'm proposing is that staff come back in 2024 with a framework to develop a destination management plan for our community. This means ensuring we have the right signage, infrastructure, and other multimodal transportation opportunities in place to allow our tourism destination to grow in a responsible and manageable manner, adhering to the principles of sustainable tourism and minimal impact on our residents. What I'm going to try to avoid is over-tourism. We don't want that in our community. That will not benefit our tourism sector, nor will it benefit our community. So as I indicated, staff look forward to coming back in 2024 with a framework from which we will build a DMP. But of course, please note, a DMP or Destination Management Plan is not a one-year plan. It is a multi-year plan that helps ensure we have the infrastructure in place over the long term to support tourism and increased economic activity in our community. And with that, Chair, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul, Brittany, and Cameron. Okay, Councillor Russell, start us off, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, a great presentation from all of you. I'm going to jump right in with my question. On slide, I think 18 and 16, there was some roadmaps of the year ahead immediately after if this goes through, and then the 5-year plan thereafter. I'm just wondering, what's the staff requirements from the town of Lincoln to help assist with that? Through you to either, Mr. Chair, through you to Mr. Deanny or maybe the CAO.
Yep, happy to answer that. So Chair, through you to the councillor, in regards to the staff commitment, so we're saying that 2024 is a transition year for the DMO. The DMO, in our opinion, will not allow or hire any staff to help with transition. What we're saying is that we have 3 very competent people here that can support the Destination Marketing Organization's development in 2024, along with our colleagues in the City of St. Catharines. So it is something that we're going to take on our shoulders. But of course, on Q4 of 2024, the new elected board will then start to work on towards a hiring management plan for 2025 and beyond.
So through you, Mr. Chair, just to clarify, so after that transition year, other than the, I think there's a council representative and a staff representative on the board, there's no other requirements for staff support, other than the partnership that Lincoln would have with the DMO and their management.
So precisely, it would be more about the destination management plan that we'd be working on, but of course, working with the DMO to make sure that they're operating in the benefit of our community.
Okay, thank you. And last question. So over that transition year, again, you 3 are great. You guys have that bandwidth to manage that added on to your existing requirements?
Most definitely.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Russell. Councillor Renchema.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and an excellent presentation. You put a little check mark in a lot of the boxes of a lot of the questions a lot of people have had. And great job to your team for getting out ahead of everything and consulting with the community, members of council, making sure that we understand everything that you're proposing. I had a question that came out, a few questions that came out today from a resident, and one of them, a lot of them have been answered. One of them was about the $75,000 last year, the $75,000 this year, the increase of $75,000, and so on through the years. They want to know if it's going to become part of the economic development based budget. And you've answered that no, it's intended to go away in time. And how do we ensure that that happens? And what's the plan in the long run to have that base budget fold away as the MAT tax supports the DMO? Or sorry, yeah, as the MAT tax is fully supporting the DMO. And I asked that question because, what if a plane hits town hall and we're all gone in 5 years?
So through you, Chair, to the councillor. So Councillor Rajim, I would direct you to slide 20, which was the forecasted DMO contributions and town levy impact. You're correct in the sense that council's approved $75,000 from 2023 was put into the base budget. What we're asking for is the approval of an additional $75,000 spend in 2024 to get us to $150,000. But what I'm saying is we're offsetting that by $27,000 from MAT revenue, so the impact or the increase from last year is actually only $48,000. That does become part of the base budget. But what I'm showcasing here over 2025, 26, 27, and 28 is a gradual reduction of levy contributions to the DMO. We would actually be giving back money starting in 2025 to the levy, money that can be used to offset other budgetary pressures or other operating initiatives that the town of Lincoln or the council, and obviously our treasurer, would recommend to council. So beginning in 2025, we're starting to reduce that need. At the end of the day, as I indicated, the DMO needs to live within their means. So if, for example, our MAT revenues are a little less, I'm not going to be up here proposing that we give more, because at the end of the day, they need to live within their means. This is our prudent plan to give them money, but to start to reduce that expenditure over a period of time, at which, from our calculations and estimates, in 2029, they're completely off the levy and solely funded from our municipal accommodation tax.
Okay, that's what I need a clarification on. So what do you mean by, okay, I have a couple of questions. What do you mean by giving it back to the levy? So there'll be 75, every year it's proposed $75,000 is a base budget, and an additional $75,000 every year. And then there's money coming back in, no, not, so a $75,000 base budget. And then there's money coming in from the MAT that's going to the DMO. So that's going to the DMO. So I don't know exactly what you mean by how is that going back on the levy? I see the money is going to different places. $75,000 every year coming from the taxpayer, and then MAT money going to the DMO, which in theory is all part of town money, but I still see them kind of going to different places. And I think that's what their question is. How does eventually that $75,000 just completely come off the books and it's not even in the base budget anymore in the long term?
So through you, Chair, I'm going to start to answer that question, but I do see our treasurer has come online to assist in me doing the quick mental math, as I joke. But $75,000 was approved in 2023 in the base budget. It's in the base budget. What we're saying is approve an additional $75,000 spend, but like I said, being offset by MAT revenue. So it's actually only a $48,000 increase. So that money is in the base budget. What we're doing is starting to reduce the base budget, going towards the DMO over a period of time, and that money then goes back to the levy or to the operating budget to be used for other initiatives, as per our treasurer and council's direction. But, Madam Treasurer, over to you.
Through the chair, there's not too much more that I can add to that. That's very accurate. I think that, the way that this forecast has been prepared is that the amount that the levy is contributing will slowly decrease over time. And I think that's what the director's referring to as sort of returning to the tax levy. It means that the amount that's in that budget as the town's portion of the MAT goes up and as the town's contribution to the DMO goes down over that period of time, then the net impact on the tax levy decreases over time. Not sure if that helped anymore.
Not a whole lot, because the amount that's coming, sorry, it's still not clear to me, because all the money that's coming from the DMO, we've said 80% is going to go, or sorry, from the MAT tax, 80% is going to go to the DMO, 20% is going to go to various investments. And then over time, that level's going to change, but it's always going to be a percentage to the DMO and a percentage invested into whatever we decide it's going to be every year. So where's this amount so you're just going to strategically every year reduce the base budget? Is that what you're saying? You're going to say, okay, I'm not understanding how that's going to work.
From my perspective, through you, Chair, sorry, is that okay, Chair?
Yeah, I was going to suggest maybe taking this offline with yourself and Mr. Deanne and the counselor, and getting a table and walking through it step by step, because I don't think she's grasping it, but it is in that table, so maybe she needs a little bit more hand-holding to understand it, and you're capable of doing that, correct?
Except I don't really, the answer isn't clear to me, and that's basically an important question tonight from a resident. It's not clear to them either. So maybe if we could just take one more stab at it.
Okay. Does anyone else having issues with following the math? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Charlotte.
Through you, Chair. I think the part that I was going to add is, as the director mentioned, there is a broad interpretation of how the town's portion of the MAT can be used. And we have a lot of costs that are tourism related. We have parks costs, we have roads costs, there's tons of infrastructure. So I think, maybe if you think of it in terms of the town's 20%, is going to contribute, and eventually, like right now, we're already paying for those infrastructure costs that support our tourism industry. And by bringing in the MAT tax, it will slowly contribute to that and then reduce the impact on the taxpayer, because then the revenue is coming in through the municipal accommodation tax.
Yeah, okay, I understand that. I mean, it goes back to my original question is that can money eventually just go back to the rate stabilization fund, which is clearly right back to the taxpayer, who, as Councillor Mikulik said earlier on, some people aren't really in favor of the whole tourism thing and feel that this shouldn't be coming directly out of their pocket. And that's who I speak for right now. But thank you for your attempts to clarify that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Brunei.
Thank you, Chair Pachariva. Can I just, I'm sure you're going to hold us to 3. So I'm just wondering if Cameron, who happened to be at the podium when he was presenting the statistics, the very eye-opening statistics on page 10. So Cameron, through you, Chair, I'm just looking for clarification. I don't want this to be a question. I just think it's important to look at those statistics. 721 dropped down to 622 for people working in the tourism industry, and that you suggested we're going to, hopefully we're going to go 74 billion. We went down to 74 billion, down to 66, but I think you believe through these statistics. Just looking for your source. You've got some small print at the bottom. I'm just trying to understand, was this a seminar you went to? Was this or is this actually the Ontario Tourism Education Corporation that works with workplaces and provides workforce information, so these statistics we can take to the bank? I'm just trying to qualify the source.
Yeah, so through you, Chair, to the councillor, correct. We actually worked with our Niagara Region counterparts as well to get some of this data, and they use reliable sources to get the information.
Okay,
so correct.
perfect. Always nice to have good data.
Yes.
Thank you. So, starting number 1, Chair, thank you. So, Mr. Danny, I'm wondering if, I've heard from a number of people, I know you've heard the same thing. So we've got Lincoln, population plus or minus 25,000, Lincoln, 140, 5 times bigger than Lincoln. People suggesting that it shouldn't be a 50-50 partnership. We should only be contributing a certain amount and St. Catharines should be paying more. I know you and I have had a conversation, but just for everyone listening at home and taxpayers, your thoughts on the 50-50 and why that is.
Yeah. So good question, and Chair, through you to the councillor. So, obviously the DMO, just like us, we need to sign a financial accountability with the DMO. Our partners in the city of St. Catharines will definitely need to do the same with the DMO. Part of the reason why we're saying 50-50 is really at the end of the day, we want equal representation on the board of directors. 2 seats from the city of St. Catharines, 2 seats from the town of Lincoln. This gives us an equal voice. If we start to reduce the amount we're giving, then it's naturally assumed that we would have less voice at that table or a less seat. So we want to make sure it's an equal partnership and we have the same representation as our partner.
And I couldn't believe more and support that governance. And I think that's important, that right from day one, we understand that.
Yeah.
We are partners, we are equal, and we all have to work together for the same vision, not only for today, but for 50 years down the road.
Agreed.
So I think that's really important to understand, so I appreciate that response. So I got 2 more, right? Okay, Chair. So I'd like to go back to Councillor Rinjama's question, and maybe if we could have Charlotte available to, I'd like to just present something to our Director of Finance. Yeah, I'm sorry, Charlotte, for bringing you back, but I just think it's really important. So, this chart that shows here, and we've all talked about assumptions, but Charlotte, you're the director of finance now. The buck stops with you. So the MAT tax, if that MAT tax does not grow to 902,000, there is no shortfall there. This isn't dropping down to 322. We all are hoping that this MAT tax is going to explode. We're going to build all these hotels, and we're going to have all this accommodation. But if that doesn't happen, there is, like, the 580, we're on the hook for 580, but there is no 902 to give us a surplus there. So Charlotte, when we talk about risk, and I've heard this evening, some people are not concerned about risk at all. There's a whole page here that talks about risk mitigation, and I think there is risk. So Charlotte, I ask you as the Director of Finance, is there a concern here? Like, do you think that the assumptions that are in play are enough that, this is something that, as the Director of Finance, you're quite comfortable over this next 6-year period that this scenario plays out and we all live happily ever after?
Through you, Chair, to the counselor. That's quite a question. I would say I haven't personally tested the underlying assumptions. However, I do know that there are MAT taxes implemented in municipalities across the province. And I know that the working group that was looking at it did consult with some of those municipalities. I think that, the investment in this, the as you're calling it risk, like what is what we might call a sunk cost? What's the amount that we are committed to? It'll be based on what we agree to as part of the DMO, because the MAT revenue itself, whether it's slightly higher or lower than we're anticipating, that's just 80% of it goes to them, 20% of it comes to us. There's no real cost embedded in that other than the time that we're putting into it, and ORMA is going to be collecting it on our behalf. So, I think it's more based on what we commit in terms of the DMO, and then, what council wants to invest in that as part of the tourism strategy.
Okay, thank you very much. One more question, Chair? So, Mr. Deanny, on slide 20, you have in bold print that the ongoing evaluation is important here, that the DMO needs to live within their means. So I had some questions prepared with regards to staffing. Councilor Russell has asked those. I think your response was quite adequate. I'm comfortable, moving forward. By 2025, the board takes over. We hire an ED and we march on. On page 9, I believe it is. Do I have my pages right? I'm sorry. No, it's not page 9. I'm sorry. Page 8. You talk about developing a new DMO for the town of Lincoln, and you say, after careful consideration and consultation with the tourism industry, the recommendation is that the town play a larger role in managing the destination. So, Brittany had up on the screen there, I think we needed a bigger screen to talk about all the things we did with 75,000. So what is our staff, once this is moving along and we're moving up to that board, what is our role here in this whole picture? Like, I just like some expansion on how you see things playing out for our staff in terms of the economic development of the town of Lincoln.
So great question, Councillor, and Chair, through you, and I appreciate the kudos on the activities that we've done in 2023. For the past number of years, we have been operating as both the destination marketing organization internally here at the town and the destination management organization and the investment and traction organization to help bring more investment into our community. There are some municipalities out there that bring in tourism marketing in-house and they create a whole staff that go off and do marketing and all that sort of stuff. We don't want to do that. Has been made quite clear this evening, we have a private sector organization that is fantastic at marketing, and we want them to do that. So what we want to do from the town's perspective is all about investment attraction. We want to bring more hotels to our community. We want to bring more culinary to our community. We want to bring more food and beverage manufacturers to our community. And at the end of the day, that is the primary responsibility of us here at the town of Lincoln. But in addition, it's about helping private sector in terms of the events, trying to attract more events, helping bring on more private sector partners that will invest in our community. So it's really about the investment attraction side of things. But I think Ms. Bazlowski might want to mention a few additional comments, if I may.
Thank you, Mr. Deaney. Through you, Chair, to Councillor Brunet. Like I stated earlier, Lincoln will always have to have a role in managing this destination, and town staff will have to be strategically aligned with the DMO, its board, and its ED on how we intend to grow tourism here in Lincoln. Additionally, we are here at the table to support our local tourism businesses with advocacy at multiple levels of government. This ongoing consultation, like our tourism town halls that our team has enacted this year, ongoing strategic planning, looking for input and consultation, that is our role, is making sure that these members in our community are being heard and that their challenges or barriers for growth, whether it be from a taxation level, as I know we've got an upcoming meeting with some of our friends in the wine industry to talk about taxation reform. Our team needs to be at the table in managing those tourism files at the province and with the feds to ensure that Lincoln is not forgotten about in this decision-making process.
Thanks very much for those responses. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Brunet. Councillor Michalak.
Thank you very much, Chair Patriva, through you to Mr. Deaney. So one of the questions I received recently was, where's the region in all of this? They have their own organization, the Tourism Partnership of Niagara, funded by taxpayers for Niagara. So they have a website, they have a management system, they have all sorts of ways of directing tourists to Lincoln or anywhere. So why, this is what a resident was asking me. I think it's a good question. Why, maybe it's a little late asking at this point, but why is a municipality taking on this sort of a substantial expense?
So through you, Chair, to the Councillor, just a point of clarification for your resident, Councillor. So the Tourism Partnership of Niagara has no affiliation with the region of Niagara, the municipality or the regional municipality of Niagara. The Tourism Partnership of Niagara is our RTO, our Regional Tourism Organization, which is funded by the province of Ontario. So there's no regional money going towards that organization. It's obviously in terms of the structure of tourism in Ontario, you have Destination Ontario, then you have 12 or 13 regional tourism organizations across the province. We're an RTO2, which is the Tourism Partnership of Niagara, and underneath them are the destination marketing organizations. So there's a natural role and give and take between both the RTO and a local destination marketing organization, but it's not funded by the region of Niagara.
Okay, perfect. So the region doesn't really have a tourism branch or anything. Okay, no, it's something that I did not know myself and thought I'd bring up. And then with regards to risk and again, I worry about that myself as well because there's expectations and I'm really hopeful that they're true. I truly am. But again, like I'm hopeful I take the right path when I'm going, to a destination, but sometimes I go the wrong way. So with that said, you said that the destination is going to live within their means, right? So they're only going to get so much, but at what point we're going to be having to hire an executive director, a marketing manager, partner, sales, accounting, all these people. And should revenue expectations not meet targets, are we going to end up, is there a possibility that if they're living within their means, there's going to be less money spent on tourism and more money on management?
So, Chair, through you to the Councillor, at the end of the day, the DMO does need to live within their means. It is a industry-led or a private sector-led organization that will make the financial determinations for that organization. What we're saying in 2025 is bring on an executive director. The other positions you listed may come on in subsequent years, but at the end of the day, it's really about the board of directors and the private sector-led organization will make those determinations. We're going to have seats at the table. As I had indicated previously, it is a third-party organization. And, that organization needs to make the decisions. So, at the end of the day, they have to live within their means. And as I previously said, they have to have financial contingencies. They need to make a financial plan, all things that the private sector is quite good at doing.
Okay, so following up on that through you, what's the exit strategy should things not work out? Like what is that exit strategy? I feel like it's an important question to ask now. Is there some things that have occurred or that happen where this isn't working out? Like how can we get out of this? Do we have one? And what does that look like?
So, Chair, through you, we have, similar to slide or as indicated on slide 20, we have a time-limited support for the organization, which is a 5-year period. Our MAT tax, by legislation, we need to be given at least 50% to the eligible tourism entity. That is our contribution coming 2026. We are not giving anything more, anything less. Of course, we're creating a third-party organization. I can't stop them from coming to this council and saying, hey, we've got something special going on, maybe we need some financial support, but that'll be a decision for this council to make at a future time. But I'm not saying that should happen. What I'm saying is it needs to live within its means and be supported by the municipal accommodation tax. Our exit strategy is in 2029, we're giving you funding through our MAT and our MAT only. That is our risk mitigation, and that is our sort of strategy moving forward.
Thank you. And through you, just to clarify, are we speaking to the report at this time as well? All the appendixes and everything? Okay, so a question, this will be my third. The 75,000, it's listed as a separate line item, and it was last year as well. And voted on tonight as well as at budget time? Like, why is that? And can we not include that 75,000 new levy ask? Can that not be included in the capital budget binder, which we're going to be discussing on, I think, Wednesday? Next Wednesday?
So, Chair, through you, in the recommendation on the report, it does indicate that the $75,000 in new ask and new spending for the DMO be submitted to the 2024 budget process. So it is going to be, from my understanding, and I think it is there because I've double checked, it is going to be in the operating budget, so something that we could discuss on Monday should council so choose.
So just to clarify, by approving that this evening, that's not necessarily approving that 75,000. Okay, perfect.
You're approving it in principle and sending it to the budget process.
Yeah, through you, Councillor. Yeah, there's no tying of hands tonight. And years ago, there was an organization, Tourism Niagara. And then when the province established the 13 RTOs to market the province coordinating, we had RTO here. And one of the first measures, because I was on that board, of sitting there is that it would be fruitless to try to market each of the 12 municipalities separately. So it was marked out of best in class. So South Coast, Niagara Falls, Niagara-on-the-Lake, St. Catharines, Tony Valley. So this is something that's been going on for probably 15 years. So worry about an exit strategy, I wouldn't be worried about it because there's been co-op marketing going on. I would look at the de-escalation of the funding based on the MAT tax, because it's a proven model, Mr. Deanny, that you used for the BIA, correct?
Correct.
Is that this is that sustainable seed funding, and the mayor was instrumental in this, is to get a fledgling organization off the ground. But then you've got a strategy, the de-escalation of those funds to a point of break even, where then that organization is allowed to fly on its own, much like the BIA, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Councillor Timmers, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Patriva. That was exactly where I was going. I wanted to talk about
Sorry.
the BIA today because, we saw huge success where the BIA is today. It's unbelievable. From an $8,000 budget to expanding their catchment agent area to now over $100,000 budget.
Mm-hmm.
And the work and the things that they do in our town is just incredible. So I see this in the same way. When we passed the tourism strategy action plan We were all in. We did the branding exercise, the Niagara Benchlands. This is the next step. And we were all in agreement that tourism is our biggest economic driver that we have in our town. This is what we have to bring prosperity to our town. And it's the next step. And as a member of the TVTA for 7 years, I'm absolutely thrilled that we're at this point. I remember TVTA coming, and when I was a brand-new councillor, coming before this council and looking for seed money, looking for some money to help them, with the work that they wanted to do in the town. So to me, this is the next step, and I'm excited for it, and I see nothing but success, and I am so thankful for the team that we have here. Just incredible work and fantastic presentation, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Timmers. Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Probably just a quick question. In that 2024 transition document, slide 18, again, it's nothing fun, but it's, again, the legal and governance framework. So, again, sounds like things are moving in the right direction, and we're probably going to get that, the stamp from council, or it's possible. The legal and governance framework, again, that is such a crucial step in setting up the working relationship between the appointed board and then the path forward. Any idea of how and when you guys are going to put that together? Is it going to be staff, like our staff-driven, consultation with those potential board members? Like, what's that process going to be, if you know?
So, great question, and Chair, through you. So, we've had some consultation already with the sector in terms of who could be on the appointed board. Again, that appointed board, very time limited until such time as they approve the legal, the governance, all the framework, and then there's elected board in Q4. So we have had some conversations with our sector. We want to make sure the voices on the appointed board have experience in DMOs, in their foundation, in their governance. I know there's a great individual behind us that had mentioned that this evening. And so it's really going to be done in consultation with the board, recognizing obviously our partners in the city as well.
And through you, and are there other DMOs out there that have best practices that we could also absorb or take a look at to see if it is something that we could initiate in ours?
Yeah, 100%. And one of the appendices into the report is the draft bylaws that the new DMO or appointed board would be approving. We've taken this from a lot of the research in terms of best practices from other DMOs, not only in Ontario, but across Canada, quite frankly.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Jan.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Russell. And two, what's the word? There's a phrase, but Mrs. Mitchell there was involved in 3 of the RTOs, so she has a lot of experience on those makeups, and I'm sure has talked to Mr. Deanny and that. And then, a perfect person to have on this because, she's lived this. This was her previous life, and it's kind of come full circle. So, excellent. Councillor Bernay, you're up again.
I'll try to be brief, Chair. So Paul, as I get older, my memory's just not as good as it used to be. But I've got a resident saying to me that when we started this, and I know you went through the timelines, so let's just say it was 4 years ago, 2019, maybe 2020. Was there a comment made at some point that we were going to need seed money for 2 years? And it would take, we would need to launch this, but we were going to need seed money for 2 years. Was that something we discussed?
So through your chair to the councillor, in the development of our tourism strategy and the work that we did on the foundational documents and elements of the Destination Marketing Organization, if you recall, our consultants, Floor 13, which we had up here back in February, indicated a 3 to 5 year period in terms of supporting the Destination Marketing Organization with seed funding from the municipality. We did look at what's the best way in terms of supporting that organization over a period of time while being cognizant of both taxpayers, but also trying to accomplish getting that organization up and running. So we thought, especially as it takes some time to get the MAT tax up and running, let's spread that out over a 5 year period, which it gives us time to make sure that as the MAT comes up, our levy contributions drop, and that's on slide 20. And again, I indicated that, we feel that it's a very prudent plan and respectful of both our non-residential, but also our residential taxpayers as well.
So Chair, I don't want to go on its soapbox, but if I could just say one quick thing. So, I think there's a really good business case. One of the things that I've struggled with over the last 2 or 3 months is a business case that I felt was tight and sound. I'm not saying this is airtight, but I think you guys have done a wonderful job here. I think we have a responsibility here. Like, I've heard lots of good conversation tonight, and it's wonderful to have all these people representing us. But, we also sat in this chamber, last year, and we talked about, looking at a business case for a transit system. And I'm not saying it's broken. I'm not saying it's not working. But, we looked at a business case, and obviously that business case was somewhat flawed. So I think we have responsibilities to make sure that we have good discussions, and I think we've had that. So for that, I thank everyone that's been involved, and I thank you, Chair, for chairing the meeting.
Thank you, Councilor Brunet, and we'll have a discussion over a coffee or an adult beverage about the transit system, because that goes, if the numbers provided aren't what they're supposed to be, it's flawed from the get-go, or you're put behind the 8 ball. And Mr. Deanny and his team have demonstrated that the numbers are, I feel, are sound and are very, what's the word? I want to say austere, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Conservative. That's the word. And if you remember too, last year, the ask was going to be $150,000 right off the bat. And because of the economic situation we were in, we went 75-75. More prudent approach and a stepped-up thing. And I think the numbers have exhibited that. So, Mayor Easton, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I just wanted to add some information that has come to my attention just through the budget process at the region on this matter. And you may or may not be aware that one of my original questions to the Economic Development Officer at the region when I first became mayor was around the information that was being, or mostly not being, provided on agricultural and agritourism. And I found it very disturbing that we would report only what the ministry was asking for, which was mostly falling under categories like mines and forestry. But however, after all this time, 8 years later, he's got a full report now that identifies anything you'd ever want to know about ag tourism. So one of the reasons that I believe in the process that's going on here is the fact that the region now has finally and put in writing what its responsibilities are. And their primary responsibility is really in the area of ECDEV. But the analysis that they do promotes promotes the entire region. They're not attempting in any way to really look at tourism as anything more than an acknowledgement. It's there, it's important, it brings a lot of money in. But we're not, in terms of Councillor Mikulic's question, they're not assuming any responsibility for that. In fact, they believe that the LAMs are responsible for sales and marketing, and that is done through a variety of different tools. And in fact, they don't even talk about those tools, but we know that they are DMOs and other such tools. But the important thing is that they have finally separated themselves out in terms of how they are looking at this entire matter. And so that opens the door then to the fact that agriculture and ag tourism now has a brand new statement which came to ag policy last Friday. And in that, they identified their roles in terms of how they are going to promote agritourism and how important it is to the total economy because of the way it supports the total value chain. So we've never had these tools before. We've never had these statements. And so they do encourage partnerships inside and outside Lincoln. I'm very pleased, Mr. Chairman, that you mentioned about that long-term relationship with St. Catharines. So this is nothing new. We've always had, they've had the hotels and we had the venues. So maybe I think the explanation around the 50/50 is very logical, but it certainly isn't a new thing at all. So, the BIAs have a stake in this. All associations that you belong to provincially and beyond that, they have a stake in this. And the job creation that comes out of our own ECDEV and the way we promote that, even to the point of carrying out interview, opportunities for job access through our job fairs, but also in terms of Civic Connects and what it's doing for young people. It is all part and parcel of this. So it's a matter then of looking back, as Councillor Brunet says, at that business case and being able to put our faith in it. And I'm telling you that my faith is based on the fact that the system itself now has its ducks in a row. The system itself have come to term with whose role and whose responsibilities, whose accountabilities in a way that it never has before. So, Mr. Chairman, my question, I think I should at least ask a question before you strike out at me, is really to ask Mr. Deanny if I'm on the right track here, and is this what his understanding is?
So through you, Chair, to the Mayor, most definitely, Madam Mayor. As most members of council will know, I sat on the development of the region's new 10-year strategy, helped co-chair that process. And in there, we included tourism and hospitality and the importance of it in that strategy, in that document, and especially talking about the support for agriculture and value-added agriculture. I look forward to working with the region on how we operationalize that. But at the end of the day, Madam Mayor, I think you're correct, and I know the region looks at it in a positive light in the terms of the importance of tourism throughout the entire Niagara economy.
Thanks very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Your Worship. Councillor Miklik, would you mind if we go to Councillor Reimer, because he hasn't, or do you want to tie, okay, no, that's okay, you don't want to let him tie a bow on it. Okay. Yeah, so there you go. So Councillor Miklik, go ahead. Third time lucky.
Okay, sorry. All right, this is it. I promise, last one. So we're entering this agreement, or we're working on this agreement with St. Catharines, and what's got me thinking when the mayor was talking about partnerships and that sort of thing. We had this tri-council meeting back in the summer with our neighbors, West Lincoln and Grimsby. Where are they with all this? Is there any interest, or is this, a two-way street, or is it a four-way street, or five-way? Is there any possibility of them tailing along, or what? Have they been approached? Again, 5 questions in one, but.
That's okay. Chair, through you to the councillor, great question. I'm glad you brought it up because it allows me to speak to it. So us and St. Catharines are the foundational partners of the new Destination Market Organization. We have built into the bylaw and some of the governance structure of the new DMO on potentially bringing other partners on board. It is natural that we here in the West look to Grimsby and West Lincoln on potentially joining this organization. They're not ready yet, though. Council will know that Grimsby recently started talking about the importance of tourism to their economy. They've most recently started looking at short-term accommodation licensing and regulatory framework, similar to what we're doing. In addition, we had a call last week or the week before with their treasurer or deputy treasurer about a MAT tax in Grimsby. They were looking to see how we brought it. What's the process? What did we do? So most definitely we're looking that way. They're just not there yet. We can't wait any longer, which is why we're at the table with City of St. Catharines, being the foundational partners. But when ready and when appropriate, we'll bring other people on board.
Okay, well, that's good to hear, I think. I think strength in numbers, and I don't know if they even have a tourism or a ACDEV strategy, honestly. So I think that if they might want to consider this, seeing as, and especially if we're doing all the work, we're doing all the heavy lifting. I think that's this is a 3-hour meeting. There's a lot of heavy lifting to do, so go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Miklik. And you know what, and again, that's a long-rooted history, and it goes back to the town of Lincoln putting brochures in the gateway and then someone's nose getting out of joint, and then them developing their own Niagara West tourism organization. And I went to a meeting at the Pump House with a bunch of their tourism people and said, like, you know, the opportunity is here to join something that's moving down the track. And, you know, Mayor McMullen and I had the same discussion in St. Catharines. So, I mean, it's not for the faint of heart, and it's not that it's just been pulled out of thin air. This is a train that's been going down the track for 15 odd years, and we're finally there. We're finally pulling into the station. And it's taken a lot of hard work and a lot of heavy lifting. But I think the model's in place now that if you want to be a part of this, jump on board. And the documentation's there. So you know what? They'll be in the documentation. This is your contribution. You either pay that and jump on board, or you don't. So I'm again, hats off to the team here for developing that and being able to get it forward. So, Councillor Reimer.
Thank you, Chair Patriva. And thank you to Paul, Brittany, and Cameron for presenting. Just a quick comment. There will be no question at the end of this, so I'll be generally I am brief. So, I just wanted to maybe not. I don't want to say correct a narrative, but maybe put my 2 cents into a narrative that somehow, and that's been fostered through some of the questions here tonight. There was also at the public meeting it was alluded to that we're asking the questions of the private sector and what are they bringing to the table, or skin in the game, as it was referred to tonight. And I say at the public meeting it was referred to several times. I would say that picture is a little different, that they are probably 4 or 5 miles down the road and they're waiting for us to catch up. So that's kind of the picture that I think we need to bring. If we're going to talk about risk here, I think it's our risk that we see as being part of it. If you're a business owner, risk means opportunity. I realize there's a line there, but I look at this as opportunity, not as risk. And then when it comes to the business owners that are seated here, they own property or lease property, large pieces of property in Lincoln. They pay tax on that. They service the infrastructure. They maintain it. They have pretty big payrolls, and on those payrolls are quite a few Lincoln residents. When we go to fundraising and charity programs and activities for the social programs and companies around charities around the town, you'll see these companies listed on the bottom, and they don't happen without their donations. Hospital fundraisers, golf tournaments, all kinds of things. So I just think that narrative is a little bit skewed. And as a small business owner, the last one I'll say is time. And you can't, time means something different to a private business owner. Time is everything. Time is money is the expression, but it's huge. So I would submit that they are quite a ways down the road. I think they've been patient with us. We need to catch up, and I think this is a great start. So thank you very much for both of these reports tonight, and your Paul and your staff who brought this forward, and thank you very much those who presented and those also who aren't here tonight but also submitted letters. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Reimer. So, there being no further discussion, I have a motion moved by Councillor Timmers that Report 8013-23 regarding unlocking Lincoln's tourism sector, creating a destination marketing organization for the town of Lincoln, be received for information, and that the mayor and town clerk be authorized to execute a service level agreement with the city of St. Catharines on the establishment of a joint destination marketing organization, DMO. And that committee recommends council approve a contribution from the town of Lincoln levy of $75,000 in new additional funding for the Destination Marketing Organization in 2024, and that this approval be submitted to the 2024 budget process. And that committee recommends council approve in principle an ongoing levy contribution to the new Destination Marketing Organization until such time the municipal accommodation tax will ensure financial sustainability for the organization, pending a yearly review of the Destination Marketing Organization's KPIs and planned activities, and that the mayor and town clerk be authorized to execute an agreement with the new destination marketing organization respecting the financial accountability required to ensure that all monies given to the DMO be used for the sole purpose of promoting tourism. I will now ask our deputy clerk to open the vote.
Thank you, Chair. That vote is now open. Councilor Rajima, can I please have your vote verbally?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. And I will close that vote, and that motion carries. Thank you.
That is fantastic. Thank you very much, Devan. We have no confidential items. Do we have any committee remarks? And the only remark I have is that I wish I was running this with this kind of financial backing. And maybe I'm too early to the party, because I had the $8,000 budget with the BIA and the $30,000 budget with the TVTA, so. But I wish you luck, and thank you, partners, for coming and stating your case, because you know what? It's important, and again, to, in the notes tonight, you make a $3 million contribution with tax, and we're taking a little bit out of that to fund the initiatives of everyone, so I appreciate that. So, there being no further business, I call the meeting adjourned at 9:49.